Chapter 2480. I see. The Sky class seemed to have something in mind after hearing Chi-Chi's words. It was no wonder, though. He'd been trading for it for a long time without getting anything out. Of course, it was because he only wanted something from a water element Sky class, but it was also because other people didn't need something from an earth element Sky class. Otherwise, if someone really needed it, they would have done everything they could to find out about a water element Sky class. So, you agree to the trade? Chi-Chi asked, a little excited. Let me think about it. The heaven rank cultivator hesitated for a moment before saying, this matter is of great importance. Go take a look somewhere else first and come find me later. All right, think about it. Chi-Chi was overjoyed. The Sky class didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. There was hope if he wanted to think about it. With that, Chi-Chi stood up and followed Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa didn't say it out loud, but they both knew what Chi-Chi was thinking. In fact, Chi-Chi was hesitating as well. How was she going to deal with Lin Yi? How was she going to get the crystal back from Lin Yi? The corner of his eyes caught Chi-Chi's shifty gaze, and he felt a little helpless. This cool girl really lacked social experience, wasn't she? Her intentions were written all over her face. Wasn't she afraid that he'd be on guard against her? Chi-Chi couldn't think of a good way to get the crystal back from Lin Yi. Since she couldn't trick him, she'd have to steal it. Chi-Chi hesitated for a long time, and as if she'd made a big decision, she suddenly walked over and grabbed Lin Yi's arm. She spoke to Lin Yi in a sweet voice. Thank you for your help earlier, hero. Otherwise, I really would have been bullied by that scrawny guy. Lin Yi almost laughed out loud at Chi-Chi's sudden action. This cool chick was really indescribable. Although the voice was very sweet, Lin Yi could clearly hear the resistance and unwillingness in it, as well as a faint trace of fear. The arm that was holding him was also trembling. Come to think of it, this cool girl had never seduced a man before. Today, in order to steal the blue crystal, this was the first time. However, her acting skills were too bad. Lin Yi saw through her plot at a glance. If it was someone else he didn't know, Lin Yi had gotten rid of her a long time ago, but this was young Chi-Chi, someone who had a lot of interactions with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's feelings towards her were a mix of love and hate. Sometimes he thought she was a cute, cool girl, and other times he thought she was a bitch who repaid kindness with enmity. Looking at Chi-Chi's distant figure, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel playful. He wanted to prank Chi-Chi a little, and so he reached out his hand. He put an arm around Chi-Chi's shoulder and smiled. Haha, you're too polite. This is what chivalrous people like us should do. Ah, Chi-Chi shivered. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be this daring, hugging her. But Chi-Chi couldn't resist. She was the one who seduced Lin Yi first, and Lin Yi was just going with the flow. Wouldn't everything be for nothing if she resisted? Chi-Chi felt that it was humiliating to seduce Lin Yi, but when she thought about it, she didn't mind sacrificing a little. For little Jiu, a little sacrifice was nothing. It wasn't real anyway. He'd kill Lin Yi after he achieved his goal. This guy wasn't a good person. Anyway, he was a big bully. What's wrong? Lin Yi could see Chi-Chi's nervousness, but pretended like he didn't know. It's nothing. Chi-Chi gritted her teeth as she moved her body closer to Lin Yi's side, her other hand reaching out. With her other hand, she was ready to reach into Lin Yi's backpack and steal the blue crystal. Of course, Chi-Chi wasn't a master thief, and it would be hard for her to steal something from Lin Yi's backpack. If Lin Yi was alerted, that would be troublesome. All she could do now was compromise. Haha, as long as it's nothing. Lin Yi took Chi-Chi's hand and started groping from her armpit to her chest. Chi-Chi's body froze as she glared at Lin Yi. She was about to go berserk and fight Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to notice her stare. He looked in another direction. It wasn't that Lin Yi was faking it. Lin Yi suddenly felt a resentful gaze on him. Lin Yi wanted to act like he didn't know anything, but Lin Yi looked in the direction of the resentful gaze and saw someone who shocked him. You Xiaoka? Why was she here? Lin Yi paused. Xiaoka was surprised to see Lin Yi looking in her direction. Did he notice her? She was wearing a mask, wasn't she? The male thief was wearing a mask, so naturally Xiaoka would recognize him. But could he recognize her now? Was it because Lin Yi noticed that she was looking at him, or did Lin Yi recognize her? Xiaoka wasn't sure, but when Lin Yi turned his head again, she felt a little dejected, so he didn't recognize her. Lin Yi, of course, recognized Xiaoke. He smiled bitterly in his heart, thinking that no one would recognize the mask he took out casually. He didn't expect Xiaoke to be here as well. What a coincidence. But Lin Yi didn't want to reveal his identity, so he wore the mask. He didn't want people to know that he was buying large amounts of yellow jade, blue crystal, and colored steel. Plus, Lin Yi had quite a grudge with the Cultivator Trading Association. Although the vice chairman didn't look like he wanted to pursue the matter, Lin Yi could see the ruthlessness in his eyes. If there was a chance to backstab him, he wouldn't let it go. So at this time, being too close to Xiaoke wasn't a good thing. He might even drag her down with him. Plus, Lin Yi could roughly guess Xiaoke's purpose for coming here. Lin Yi didn't believe that Xiaoke was here to trade. This greedy girl used all her valuables to subsidize the orphanage. Where would she get the money to trade in the market? Chapter 2481. When Lin Yi turned his head, Chi-Chi was in a dilemma. Should she break free from Lin Yi's clutches and leave, or should she endure it? After weighing the pros and cons, Chi-Chi decided to endure it. She had to, for Lil 9. But in her heart, she was cursing Lin Yi 1,000 times, wishing that Lin Yi would step on a rock and fall to his death. What's wrong? Lin Yi turned his head to Chi-Chi, pinching her chest a couple of times. Chi-Chi gasped, almost going crazy. She held it in. It's nothing. There's a lot of people here. It's not good. Oh, it's nothing. Lin Yi said nonchalantly, his actions getting more and more reckless. Han Xiaopa's face was full of question marks. Lin Yi wasn't usually this lecherous. He'd interacted with Lin Yi a lot already, and while there were plenty of beauties around him, Lin Yi would never do something this perverted. Could it be revenge? Han Xiaopa understood instantly. He wasn't an idiot. Chi-Chi had wanted to trade the blue crystal with a Sky Class practitioner for the blood of an Earth Elemental Sky Class. But where would she have the crystal? Wasn't it in Lin Yi's hands? With that, everyone knew what she was planning. She'd come to seduce Lin Yi to get the blue crystal back from Lin Yi, and Lin Yi had probably figured out Chi-Chi's intentions as well. Han Xiaopa shook his head and smiled coldly inwardly. This girl had a great body, but she was underestimating Boss Lin Yi too much. Boss Lin Yi had a lot of women around him, and there was no way she could compare to Yushu in terms of body. How about I go to your room tonight? Chi-Chi asked. Haha, sure. But we'll talk about tonight. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't let go of a good opportunity like this. Lin Yi wasn't a pervert, but he was a normal person, too. Chi-Chi often bit the hand that fed her, and Lin Yi didn't mind teaching her a lesson. Chi-Chi was helpless. She could only let Lin Yi touch her. She wanted to kill Lin Yi right now, but she couldn't hide the shyness in her eyes, looking as if she was enjoying it. It was as tragic as one could imagine. After walking around and making sure that there wasn't anything he needed, Lin Yi lost interest. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was panicking. Being teased by Lin Yi like this wasn't a good thing. Not only was she pissed off, but she was also letting down her little bro. But there was nothing she could do. All she could do was kill Lin Yi after the deed was done. But thinking back to how strong Lin Yi was, Chi-Chi didn't think that she was a match for him at all. If she were a match for Lin Yi, she wouldn't have to be bullied by that skinny guy. She was worried about losing him. Young Chi-Chi had no choice but to endure it. Xiaopa, when's the auction? Lin Yi asked. According to the usual schedule. Tomorrow, it should be. There's a free hotel for people to stay in at night. Han Xiaopa said, Boss, do you have anything you want to auction? We can put it up for auction. Yes. The pills Lin Yi had weren't very useful to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't have the time to set up a stall here to trade with others. Exchanging it for money was the simplest way. And so, Lin Yi said, then we'll put it up for auction first. All right. Han Xiaopa nodded and volunteered to lead the way. He knew more about the market than Lin Yi. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was overjoyed. She wondered if she'd have a chance to steal the blue crystal when Lin Yi put it up for auction. Han Xiaopa brought Lin Yi away from the market and came to a secluded courtyard. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were law enforcement disciples patrolling the area. Who are you? What are you doing? This is the office of the Cultivator Trade Association. If there's nothing else, please leave. One of the disciples said to Lin Yi's group. Oh, we're here to put it up for auction. How do we go through the procedures? Han Xiaopa knew a lot about the cultivator market, but the hidden house Han didn't do business before. In order not to attract attention, they wouldn't come here to put it up for auction. So, Han Xiaopa only knew the general situation. Of course, you can put it up for auction. Come with me. The disciple nodded. It wasn't that there weren't any cultivators who came here to auction things, but there weren't many. Most cultivators preferred to set up stalls outside in the form of free trade. In this way, they could directly barter and see if there was anything they needed. However, the only thing they could get from the auction was money. But just because there were few didn't mean there weren't any. For example, the people from the hidden house you would often put up some pills for auction. After all, hidden houses needed a lot of money to operate. After entering the side courtyard, Lin Yi's group was led to a room. There was a man dressed like an ancient pawn shop who was arranging something. When he saw the law enforcement disciple bring people in, he asked directly, "Do you have something to put up for auction?" Here, Lin Yi didn't see the vice president of Heaven stage. A vice president should be in charge here. He couldn't do these small things by himself. But this way, Lin Yi was relieved. He was afraid that the vice president would abuse his power for personal revenge and tamper with the auction price. "Yes, I have some pills to put up for auction." Lin Yi nodded. As he said that, he took the backpack behind him, opened it, and placed several small bottles in front of the pawn shop man. Pills? The pawn shop man was surprised when he saw the things Lin Yi took out. "Are you from the hidden house, you?" "No." Lin Yi shook his head. "Do you need to ask for the identity of the auctioneer when you auction here?" "That's not it." The pawn shop man shook his head embarrassedly and said, "It's just that only the people from the hidden house you use to auction pills. You know that this cultivator's market is a small scale. The heavenly elixir sect absolutely doesn't want it, so we only have one source of pills before. Suddenly, someone came to auction pills. I subconsciously thought that you were also from the hidden house you." "Hee, then what are the rules of the auction?" asked Lin Yi. "Auction. According to the rules, we will take 20% of the total transaction price of the auction item. So, you have to consider this factor when you set the price. Don't lose money," said the pawn shop man. Chapter 2482. But these elixirs of yours, small chi gathering pill, small circulation pill, meridian unblocking pill, and some spirit gathering pills, have been auctioned countless times. Because they were all supplied by the hidden house of you, the starting price is the same every time, and the final transaction price is about the same. There won't be much fluctuation. So, if you feel that you are losing money, you can choose to give up." The reason why the pawnbroker said so much was that he was afraid that the cost of Lin Yi's alchemy would be too high, and the final transaction price would be a loss. "What is the general starting price and final transaction price?" Lin Yi asked. "There is a record here. I'll find it for you to see." The pawnbroker skillfully took out a list from a pile of documents and handed it to Lin Yi. Yang Qiqi, on the other hand, was quite surprised Lin Yi had brought out so many pills to auction. He really was a man of goods. If it weren't for the fact that she really needed the blue crystal for little Joe's treatment, she would have asked for it all back. Lin Yi didn't have the time to guess Yang Qiqi's thoughts. He took the list from the pawnbroker and looked at it carefully. However, he sucked in a cold breath when he saw it. Seeing Lin Yi's subconscious shock, the pawnbroker smiled and said, "The hidden house of you produces elixirs in bulk. Their price naturally has an advantage. If you don't think it's worth it, don't sell it." He was obviously doing it on purpose. The price on the list was too low in Lin Yi's eyes. However, he misunderstood. Lin Yi looked at the price on the list and sighed secretly. The profit of this elixir business was really huge. No wonder the hidden house of you didn't care about the medical business in the secular world. It couldn't be compared with this. Here, the transaction price of an elixir was more than 10 million. It was a sky-high price. The 20 elixirs that Lin Yi brought were sold for more than 200 million. Where else could he find such a profitable business? Although the materials needed for these elixirs were precious, it was at most a few million. If Lin Yi had the time, he could ask Old Man Lin to plant some at home. It was just that he didn't have the time, so he asked for it from the Yu family. After all, the ingredients for these elixirs were not particularly rare. The cost of first grade and second grade elixirs was actually not high. The only good thing about it was that it was often unsuccessful. However, this price was still lower than the transaction value of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Could it be that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was worth that much? Linny was surprised that the Kong family would spare no effort to obtain the formula. They had the backing of the Hidden Yu family, and they were still concerned about the formula. It was enough to show how precious the formula was. However, Lin Yi did not find anything precious or strange about the formula. This price is fine. No problem. Linny looked at the list. He said directly, "Oh." The pawnbroker was a little shocked, but he didn't ask much and just nodded. "All right, since that's the case, let's do the registration." "All right." Linny nodded. It didn't take long for the procedures to be completed. Lin Yi didn't use his real name, only an auction number. This number would be used to participate in the auction as well, but he'd gotten it earlier than the others. Young Chi-Chi wasn't Yu Xiaoka. She had no chance to snatch the blue crystal from Lin Yi's bag in front of everyone. She couldn't find a suitable opportunity even after Lin Yi put on his bag. She could only give up for now. The group walked out of the courtyard, and Lin Yi noticed that Xiaoka was nearby. She seemed to be looking at a stall not far from them. She seemed to be looking at a stall not far away, but Lin Yi could see her eyes drifting over from time to time. He couldn't help but smile bitterly to himself. Yu Xiaoka's feelings were clear to Lin Yi. It was normal for her to be jealous after seeing him touching young Chi-Chi. However, Lin Yi didn't plan on letting young Chi-Chi go so easily. This girl was too irritating, biting the hand that fed her. Lin Yi punished her so that she would remember better in the future. Young Chi-Chi saw that she couldn't stop Lin Yi from touching her, so she used her hands to touch Lin Yi. Of course, the main reason she touched Lin Yi was to steal the blue crystal from Lin Yi's backpack. Only with the blue crystal could she trade for the Earth Element Sky Class Spirit Beast Blood. Who was Yu Xiaoka? She knew young Chi-Chi's goal. She was a thief by birth. How could she not see that young Chi-Chi wanted to be a thief? Yu Xiaoka was a little annoyed. Why was this male thief so perverted? Was he smitten by this hot girl in front of him? He didn't even know what she was trying to do. In Yu Xiaoka's impression, this male thief was a very smart man. His intelligence and alertness in the tomb were both extraordinary. Plus, if he wanted to be perverted, he could have done it with herself. It wasn't like she wouldn't let him touch herself. Why would he touch a girl who had bad intentions towards him? It wasn't long before it was time for dinner. Lin Yi, Han Xiaopa, and Chi-Chi arrived at the hotel in the market. You had to pay for your food here, but the rooms were free, provided by the Practitioner Trade Association. In fact, this place wasn't open to the public at all, other than when the practitioners' market was being held. It was always closed. The facilities here were all built for the sake of the market. There weren't many practitioners eating in the restaurant. Since this place was open all days, there was no need for everyone to eat at this time. Plus, most of the practitioners would just buy things and eat in their rooms, not sitting here. Linny randomly ordered a few dishes and sat down. Did you find what you wanted to trade? I don't have anything to trade. I'm just here to take a look. Chi-Chi quickly said. Haha. Linny didn't say anything else. Chi-Chi's acting was too bad, and perhaps she was the only one who didn't know that she'd already exposed her true thoughts. Yu Xiaoka was in the restaurant as well. She was panicking. Could this male thief in front of her be an impersonator? Otherwise, the male thief didn't look like this. Could it be that the mask was fake? Seeing Chi-Chi fumbling around in Lin Yi's backpack, Yu Xiaoka panicked. What if this guy really was a male thief? And so, Xiaoka had no choice. She bought a boxed meal and sat beside Lin Yi's table. The most common food here was the bento box. In fact, these bento boxes were mostly given to the staff of the cultivator market and the law enforcement hall disciples for free. Very few cultivators would buy them. Practitioners weren't poor, so why would they buy a boxed meal? Someone like Yu Xiaoka who lived frugally was naturally different. Chapter 2483. Xiaoka's sudden arrival startled Chi-Chi, and she quickly retracted her hand that was rummaging through Lin Yi's backpack. She glared at Xiaoka, annoyed. What was wrong with this person? She didn't recognize them, and there were so many seats around them. Why did she have to sit next to them? Wasn't she just being annoying? But Xiaoka was already sitting next to them, and Chi-Chi couldn't just kick her out, could she? Helplessly, Chi-Chi could only give up and look for other opportunities. Ahem. Xiaoka turned her head to look at Lin Yi and realized that Lin Yi didn't seem to notice her. She coughed twice. Chi-Chi was waiting for Xiaoka to sit down and eat, and she wanted to find a chance to make a move, but Xiaoka suddenly coughed twice, giving her a fright. Her heart almost fell out of her chest, and she quickly retracted her hand. Lin Yi turned to Xiaoka helplessly, but Lin Yi didn't say anything after some hesitation. He knew that Xiaoka might have noticed something, but Lin Yi couldn't say anything in front of Chi-Chi. At that moment, Chi-Chi's phone rang. She took it out and looked at the caller ID. She quickly stood up and said to Lin Yi, "Young warrior, I'll go take this. Wait for me." With that, Chi-Chi walked quickly to a corner of the restaurant and carefully picked up the phone. With Chi-Chi gone, Xiaoka had some space to interact with Lin Yi. "Heh, it's me." Xiaoka lowered her voice and hinted to Lin Yi, "It's me." Lin Yi was speechless. He didn't want to acknowledge Xiaoka at first because he didn't want to drag her into this. It wasn't that he was avoiding her, but now that Xiaoka had taken the initiative, Lin Yi couldn't act like he didn't know her anymore. "Flying Sparrow, it's been a while," Lin Yi said. Chapter 2484. The elixir had been put up for auction, and Lin Yi's bottle was still with him. Lin Yi wouldn't be stupid enough to put it in his backpack as well. What if Chi-Chi decided to steal it too? Lin Yi would be in big trouble. After doing all that, Lin Yi sat cross-legged on his bed, channeling the second stage of the art of dragon mastery as he waited for Chi-Chi's arrival. He guessed that Chi-Chi wouldn't be able to resist coming to his room soon, looking for a chance to steal the blue crystal. As expected, Lin Yi heard a knock on the door not long after. "Who is it?" Lin Yi said with a smile as he walked over. "It's me." Chi-Chi tried to make her voice sound seductive. She didn't know how to seduce men, but she'd seen it in dramas before. It wasn't too strenuous for her to do it now, but it was a little embarrassing. Fortunately, her face was covered, and no one could see her face. Lin Yi opened the door and let Chi-Chi in. Chi-Chi closed the door after entering before turning to Lin Yi. "Young warrior, thank you so much for helping out today. I'd like to thank you in advance." Lin Yi was speechless. Which TV show did she see this way of speaking? But Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to tease her anymore. He only nodded. "It's nothing." Lin Yi's attitude towards her suddenly became a little cold, and Chi-Chi's heart jumped. Why did Lin Yi not like her anymore? Wasn't he touching her chest like a pervert before? Why was he so indifferent when she threw herself into his arms? This change made Chi-Chi's heart skip a beat. She didn't know what made Lin Yi like this, but since she was already here, she couldn't just give up. She had to get the blue crystal back. She gritted her teeth and hugged Lin Yi, falling into Lin Yi's embrace. But Chi-Chi was thinking to herself, "For little Ji's illness, I endured, but today's humiliation, I will return it tenfold. Just you wait. When I become powerful, the first thing I will take is your life." Lin Yi paused at Chi-Chi's sudden action, but understood the reason immediately. It was most likely because of his attitude. This conjecture. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although Lin Yi had his hands on Chi-Chi earlier, he'd at least shown that he was interested in her. This made it easier for Chi-Chi to get close to him and steal the blue crystal. But if Lin Yi wasn't interested in Chi-Chi, then Chi-Chi wouldn't have the chance to steal the crystal. Lin Yi pushed Chi-Chi away helplessly. He knew that Chi-Chi must be grinding her teeth in anger, but he had to put on a fawning front. This girl's heart was still very strong, but it was also what Lin Yi admired the most. She was the same as Xiaoka, having her own beliefs and stubbornness. Xiaoka was willing to give up a lot for the children in the orphanage, and Chi-Chi was the same. She was willing to sacrifice herself for her friends. And so, Lin Yi really couldn't bear to take advantage of her. At least the current Chi-Chi made Lin Yi feel that she wasn't that bad, and she wasn't that selfish. It was reasonable for him to steal the blue crystal. Looking at it from another angle, if someone stole his chance to cure Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi would probably do the same. "Haha, no rush. I'll go take a shower first." Lin Yi said this to create a chance for Chi-Chi to steal, letting her steal the blue crystal. Otherwise, with this cool girl's thieving skills, there was no chance of success at all. Lin Yi was already lax enough, but Xiaoka was different. The blue crystal was already in his hands. But Chi-Chi clearly wasn't an expert in this area, so Linny went to take a shower and left her in the room to steal. Ah, okay. Chi-Chi heard Lin Yi's words and was overjoyed. This guy really was a big pervert. He still wanted to take a shower? It was obvious what he would do after a shower. Oomph. You deserve to lose your things. I'll steal the blue crystal after you take a shower. What a great opportunity. Chi-Chi, naturally, didn't know that Linny was doing this on purpose. She didn't connect this person in front of her with the Lin Yi and Ling Yi from before. Linny didn't say anything and walked into the bathroom. He locked the door and took off his clothes to take a shower. Chi-Chi heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom and was overjoyed. After a while, she made sure that Lin Yi was really taking a shower. Chi-Chi walked quickly to Lin Yi's backpack and started rummaging through it. The blue crystal was in Lin Yi's backpack. It wasn't hidden, so Chi-Chi saw it the moment she opened the backpack. Chi-Chi's hands were shaking as she carefully and quickly stole the blue crystal from Lin Yi's backpack. Her heart was racing. She had killed before, but she had no experience in stealing. Chi-Chi carefully put Lin Yi's backpack back to its original state and took a deep breath. She quickly put the blue crystal in her pocket. She didn't dare show it off in her hands. What if someone saw it and wanted to do something bad again? She'd be in big trouble. With that done, young Chi-Chi carefully made her way to the door. Xiaoka went back to her room and tidied up. She wanted to go to Lin Yi's room, but she didn't expect to see Chi-Chi sneaking into Lin Yi's room the moment she opened the door. At the same time, Xiaoka cursed Chi-Chi for being shameless. She really was a disgrace to the thieves sections. She had to sacrifice her body to steal something. What a shame. Xiaoka didn't knock on the door right away. She didn't know what Lin Yi's goal was, and she was afraid that her appearance would interfere with Lin Yi's plans. So, she waited in the hallway for Chi-Chi to come out. If Chi-Chi succeeded, she'd help her steal the item. Xiaoka let out a sigh of relief when Chi-Chi opened the door not long after entering the room. She tiptoed out. Xiaoka knew that Lin Yi had a goal, but she wouldn't be happy if something really happened between Lin Yi and Chi-Chi. It wasn't that she was stingy, but it was reasonable, especially with a girl like Chi-Chi, who had a bad character. Xiaoka would be even more unhappy. Even if something happened, it should be with someone with high standards like her, right? And Chi-Chi came out not long after entering. Evidently, she didn't have time to do anything. Chapter 2485. Chi-Chi's clothes didn't look like anything had happened, either. Chi-Chi could open the door without making any noise, but closing it from the outside wouldn't be possible. She didn't lock the door, but left Lin Yi's door ajar as she tiptoed out of the room. But Chi-Chi saw Xiaoka walking towards her the moment she stepped out of the door. She jumped in fright and almost tripped. She didn't dare to look at Xiaoka straight in the eyes and quickly ran back to her room. How could Xiaoka not see the guilt in Chi-Chi's eyes? It seemed that she had stolen something. There was no way Xiaoka would let her take it away so easily. So when Chi-Chi walked past with her head lowered, Xiaoka consciously brushed past her and bumped into her. Chi-Chi felt guilty and wanted to go back to her room as soon as possible. So naturally, she didn't want to talk to Xiaoka. Even if she knew that Xiaoka bumped into her on purpose, she could only accept it with a guilty conscience. Xiaoka pushed open Lin Yi's door and walked in, only to find that there was no one there. At the same time, she heard the sound of water coming from the washroom. Xiaoka understood now that Lin Yi was showering, and Chi-Chi must have used this time to steal something. As for why Lin Yi went to shower, that was obvious. Chi-Chi must have seduced Lin Yi and made him shower, and Chi-Chi used this time to steal something. Otherwise, with her skills, she wouldn't have been able to win against Lin Yi at all. At that thought, Xiaoka was even more troubled. The male thief was such a big pervert, taking the bait with just a little seduction, and even going to take a bath like an idiot. If she didn't notice that something was wrong and stole the item back, he'd have lost a lot. Xiaoka thought. Xiaoka sat on the sofa, waiting for Lin Yi to come out after his shower. He suddenly felt expected. What was going to happen between Chi-Chi and Lin Yi in the shower? Now that young Chi-Chi wasn't here, and she was in Lin Yi's room, would something happen between her and Lin Yi? With that thought, Xiaoka got nervous. If Lin Yi wanted to push her down, would she agree or not? Or agree? Just when Xiaoka was panicking, The washroom door opened and Lin Yi walked out wearing a nightgown. He wasn't wearing the male thief mask, but the 1,000 silk mask that the heaven-class spider gave him. In the washroom, Lin Yi had heard the sound of Chi-Chi leaving. Chi-Chi had made it very quiet, but how could she hide it from an Earth-class mid-phase peak like Lin Yi? Lin Yi also knew that Yu Xiaoka had come in. This was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't come out after showering. He recognized Xiaoka's footsteps and knew that she was safe in her room. As for not wearing the mask, Lin Yi was too lazy to wear it, and Xiaoka had tried to take it off many times. So he decided that he might as well take it off himself. He still had the 1,000 silk mask on, so Lin Yi wasn't worried that Xiaoka would recognize him. Xiaoka, you're here? Is she gone already? Lin Yi wiped his hair with a towel as he looked at Xiaoka on the sofa and asked calmly, "Huh, you knew she was gone?" Xiaoka paused for a second before answering. She realized that Lin Yi wasn't wearing the mask this time, and she was surprised and happy. She even forgot about Chi-Chi and stood up. "Male thief, is this your real face? You're finally willing to take off your mask in front of me. I'm so happy." "Haha, Lin Yi smiled. "How is it? Are you disappointed?" With the 1,000 silk mask on his face, Lin Yi looked like a normal person. He didn't have the handsomeness he used to have, and he gave off the feeling that you wouldn't be able to find him in a crowd. This was the effect that the 1,000 silk mask was supposed to have. If it was too obvious, then the mask would be a failure. "Nope." Xiaoka shook her head heavily. "What you look like isn't important. What I like is the person who protected me carefully in the tomb. Plus, your looks aren't that outstanding, but in my eyes, you're perfect." Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that Xiaoka would reveal her feelings so boldly again. He didn't know how to reply to this. I'll go take a shower. Although that annoying girl left, there's still me," Xiaoka said to Lin Yi bravely. Xiaoka, it's okay. You misunderstood." Lin Yi jumped. He was a little moved, but how could he do anything with Xiaoka in this place? He quickly waved his hand to stop her. "I suggested taking a shower. The goal was to create a chance for her to steal the blue crystal." You let her steal it on purpose?" Xiaoka's eyes widened in shock, not understanding why Lin Yi would do this. "Xiaoka, sit down first. I'll tell you the details." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Actually, she's a pitiful person. She had her own persistence, willing to compromise. "Oh?" Xiaoka wasn't too happy hearing Lin Yi's high evaluation of young Chi-Chi, but she still sat down obediently. "Actually, the truth is like this. The thing she stole was hers, and I just took it from someone else's hands." With that, Lin Yi told Xiaoka about what happened at the practitioner's market. So that's how it is. Xiaoka realized after listening to Lin Yi's story, it really was young Chi-Chi's. But Xiaoka was still a little unsatisfied. Although it was hers, she was useless, and someone stole it. You stole it from the person who stole it, so it's yours. What right does she have to steal it back? That's what I thought before. I thought that she was biting the hand that fed her. I helped her get back a small chi-gathering pill, so she should be satisfied. Otherwise, she wouldn't get anything. Lin Yi nodded. So, when she threw herself at me, I used that as an excuse to tease her. But later, in the restaurant, I heard a phone call from her, and I changed my mind. Lin Yi then told Xiaoka about the phone call. Xiaoka couldn't help but fall silent. Indeed, if what Lin Yi said was true, then young Chi-Chi and herself were quite similar in some aspects. Chapter 2486. Xiaoka was doing it for the children in the orphanage, and Chi-Chi was doing it for her sick family or friends. I see. But I took back what she stole. Xiaoka helplessly took out the blue crystal and gave it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi froze as he looked at the crystal in Xiaoka's palm. He didn't think that Xiaoka would take it back. Of course, to Xiaoka, it was as easy as lifting a finger. Young Chi-Chi took a while to calm herself down after getting back to her room. She patted her chest and carefully put her hand into her pocket, wanting to take out the blue crystal for a look. But the moment she put her hand in her pocket, her face froze. Where was the blue crystal? The blue crystal was gone. Chi-Chi rummaged through her pockets once more, but it was empty. There was nothing there at all. Chi-Chi was completely stupefied. Where did the blue crystal go? She'd stolen it and put it in her pocket, and they'd been so close. There was no way she'd lost it, right? Chi-Chi suddenly remembered someone, and that was Xiaoka. She'd only met Xiaoka recently, and when she came out of Lin Yi's room, they brushed past each other, and Xiaoka even bumped into her. Could she have stolen the blue crystal at that time? Chi-Chi's eyes flashed with anger at the thought. She was very angry. Why was it always Xiaoka who ruined her plans? She stormed out of the room and went straight to Lin Yi's room. She remembered what happened before. She remembered that Xiaoka went into Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi heard the footsteps in the hallway, and he put on the male thief's mask. Coming to Lin Yi's room, Chi-Chi saw that Lin Yi's door wasn't locked, so she pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing Xiaoka holding her blue crystal in front of Lin Yi like it was a treasure, young Chi-Chi was furious. In actuality, she had misunderstood Xiaoka. Xiaoka didn't offer anything, but she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was kind enough to help Lin Yi get the blue crystal back, but it was Lin Yi who let young Chi-Chi steal it. You're such a wicked girl. You stole my blue crystal. Are you going to use it to please this big bully? Chi-Chi pointed at Xiaoka and said angrily. Xiaoka had been sympathizing with Chi-Chi and was ready to send the blue crystal back, but Chi-Chi started scolding her the moment she walked in. Not to mention, Chi-Chi was calling the perfect man in her heart a bully. How could she not be angry? What a joke. This blue crystal clearly belonged to the man. He stole it from that skinny guy. How did it become yours? Xiaoka didn't back down. Aren't you ashamed to come here and cause a ruckus? You. Chi-Chi had an idea. That's right. Even if he took it from that skinny guy, I took it from him, so it's mine now. Oh, that's right. You said it yourself. You took it, so it's yours now. I stole it from you, so it's mine now, Xiaoka said matter-of-factly. So, what are you yelling for? Aren't you ashamed of selling your body? You. Chi-Chi was speechless. She was no match for Xiaoka when it came to defense and deceit. Xiaoka used to be at the bottom of society, dealing with gangsters all the time. Young Chi-Chi was no match for her. What about me? What about you? You have nothing to say now? Xiaoka himphed. You tricked me into taking a bath, and you left with the blue crystal. Do you think I'm an idiot? Chi-Chi was just about to say the word I when she remembered Xiaoka's words. She felt wronged and started crying. What? You're all bullying me. Chi-Chi wiped her tears. She felt wronged as she ran out the door, back to her room. Xiaoka and Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked at each other. The reason why Lin Yi didn't stop Xiaoka from making things difficult for Chi-Chi was because he wanted to teach her a lesson. He was ready to return the blue crystal to her, but it was only because she needed to save a patient. He was still a little pissed off that she was biting the hand that fed her. This was why he didn't stop Xiaoka, but he didn't think that Chi-Chi would be this weak. Running away after a few words from Xiaoka. Did she feel wronged? Lin Yi shook his head. She was still lacking in social experience. Male thief, I'm sorry, I didn't think I'd scare her away, Xiaoka said, embarrassed after some hesitation. It's fine, we'll talk about it later. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Okay. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief when she saw that Lin Yi didn't blame her. Right, Xiaoka, why did you come to the cultivators market? It seems like you have to spend a lot of money to participate in the cultivators market, right? Where did you get the invitation? Lin Yi asked. I stole it, Xiaoka said embarrassedly. I was thinking of coming here to see if I could get some money back. Haha, okay, I understand, Lin Yi said. I'll deal with it for you tomorrow. Okay. Xiaoka nodded happily. All of a sudden, Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi looked at the call. It was Meng Yao, but he didn't want to answer it in front of Xiaoka. So Lin Yi was hesitated. Should he hang up or pick it up? But Xiaoka seemed to have noticed Lin Yi's inconvenience and smiled. You answer the phone first? I'll go back to my room. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief when she knew that Lin Yi wasn't looking for Chi-Chi. At the same time, she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't be doing anything with her. She stood up and left the room, helping Lin Yi hang up the door before returning to her own room. Lin Yi, on the other hand, picked up the phone. Hello? I'm Lin Yi. Lin Yi, it's me. Meng Yao's voice came from the phone. Yao, what's wrong? What happened? Lin Yi asked worriedly. Under normal circumstances, Meng Yao wouldn't call Lin Yi when he was out. She didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. Pin Liang came back all of a sudden today. Meng Yao was speechless at the name. She didn't think that Pin Liang would come to Donghai Industry University, not to mention that he was harassing her on the first day. Chapter 2487. Pin Liang? Why's he back? Lin Yi paused. Did he cause you trouble? Man, he came looking for me as soon as he came to school. Meng Yao said, troubled. Plus, I don't know where he learned some kung fu from, but it's really powerful. Oh? He learned kung fu? Lin Yi was surprised. Yeah, it's like this. Meng Yao told Lin Yi everything that happened today in detail. Pin Liang and Xiaofu stayed on Mount Mingri for a while, and Pin Liang was accepted as an in-name disciple by the head of the sect, Pure Young Sky Master. He was given a treasure, the mid-tier golden cicada underwear. This mid-tier golden cicada underwear could defend against any attack from a master under sky class. It was a super treasure. Pin Liang and Xiaofu didn't have good grades, but they paid to go to the joint school. They were still in the same school, but their graduation certificates were different. Pin Liang and Xiaofu didn't care about these things. The first thing they did when they got back to school was to find Meng Yao. Yao Yao. Pin Liang hadn't seen Meng Yao for a long time, and his heart was pounding with excitement. Pin Liang? Meng Yao and Yushu had just finished class, and were about to go to the cafeteria for lunch when they saw Pin Liang and Xiaofu waiting for them at the economics building. Haha, Yao Yao, we are classmates again. This is really something to be happy about. Pin Liang knew that Meng Yao had never liked him before, but he wasn't discouraged. He finally had his chance. He was invincible under sky class, and he had the right to pursue Meng Yao again. Oh, Meng Yao nodded. Shu and I are going for lunch now. You can go back to your work. Meng Yao still didn't have a good attitude towards Pin Liang. She said a few words and prepared to leave. Wait, Yao Yao, where's Lin Yi? Pin Liang asked as soon as he got back. He wanted to spar with Lin Yi to see who was better, himself or Lin Yi. Lin Yi's busy these past 2 days. What's up with you? Meng Yao asked. Haha, it's fine. Isn't he too incompetent as a bodyguard? Pin Liang shook his head and said sarcastically, Yao Yao, I think that Yao Yao is the only one who can protect you. You should replace him. Substitution? Who should they replace? Could it be you? Meng Yao frowned. She didn't want to waste any more time with Pin Liang. Wasn't this guy scared of Lin Yi? Why did he become so arrogant after disappearing for a period of time? Hee, that's right. Pin Liang patted his chest happily after hearing Meng Yao's words. I was just about to recommend myself. I didn't expect Yao Yao's eyes to be so accurate. Meng Yao was speechless at Pin Liang's shameless words. After a while, then, he said helplessly, I'm going to eat. Don't. How about this? I'll treat you to dinner. Pin Liang quickly stopped Meng Yao. No need, Meng Yao said faintly. Yao Yao, we're old classmates after all. You won't reject an old classmate's treat, will you? Pin Liang said, besides, I'm no longer the Pin Liang from before. I'm the master Pin Liang now. Even Lin Yi might not be as good as me. I'll be your bodyguard this time. I promise that no one will dare to bully you. Meng Yao frowned and wanted to say something, but Yushu interrupted. Liang Yi, are you really that good? Of course, I'm pretty good now. Pin Liang nodded. Oh, in school, we have a few enemies. Since you're so powerful, why don't you come with us? Since you're so good, why don't you beat them up for me? Yushu rolled her eyes and thought of a way to get rid of Pin Liang. Oh, someone dares to bully you? That Lin Yi doesn't care? He's not a good bodyguard at all. Pin Liang was puzzled. Shield bro, he intervened. He beat that person up and that person begged for mercy. But I don't think it's enough, so I want to beat him up again. If you can't do it, then forget it. Yushu said, move aside. Yao Yao sis and I are going to dinner. Sure, who said I can't do it? Pin Liang said immediately, tell me, who do you want me to beat up? The boxing club's president, Li Biaohan. You go beat him up. Yushu said, oh, okay, I'll remember. Pin Liang nodded and promised, I'll show Yao Yao what I'm capable of, just wait and see. Okay, after you beat him up, I'll send you on a few missions. If you pass, I'll consider persuading Yao Yao's sis to take you as her bodyguard, Yushu said. Haha, Shu, you and I are the best, Pin Liang took out a map of the school, looked at it, and waved his hand happily. Xiaofu, let's go fight. Yes, Liang bro. Xiaofu replied quickly and walked towards the boxing club with Pin Liang. Phew, they're finally gone. Mengyao sighed in relief and turned to Yushu. Shu, why did you send him to beat up that Li Biaohan? That Li Biaohan is a golden class late phase peak. Didn't Pin Liang say how strong he is? Then let him get beaten up, Yushu said. If you don't send him to get beaten up, he'll still bother us. You're right, but isn't this a bit bad? Mengyao didn't like Pin Liang, but she felt that Shu's idea was a bit bad. What's bad about it? It's not bad at all, Yushu said matter-of-factly. How can he be a bodyguard if he can't even beat Li Biaohan? All right, I hope he doesn't get beaten to death. Mengyao shook her head and went to the cafeteria with Yushu. But Mengyao and Yushu hadn't even finished their meal when Pin Liang came to the cafeteria with Xiaofu. He found Mengyao and Yushu and said proudly, Li Biaohan, it's done. He's so weak in front of me. He's just a golden class late phase peak. I'll beat him up until he's sent to the hospital. Mengyao froze at Pin Liang's words. Yushu, on the other hand, widened her eyes in shock. Was this Pin Liang? He beat Li Biaohan? He even knew that Li Biaohan was a master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Chapter 2488. Haha, I told you. I'm no longer the Zhong Pingliang I used to be. I'm the Master Zhong Pingliang now. Pin Liang saw the shocked expressions on Mengyao and Yushu's faces, pleased with himself. What do you think? I'm qualified to be your bodyguard now, right? Lin Yi's just, Li Biaohan was quite the unlucky one. Pin Liang came to the boxing club, asked who Li Biaohan was, and started beating him to death with his specially made rod. This rod was given to him by Zhang Naipeo, and was made out of mystic steel, the material used to forge mystical weapons. While the everyday sect didn't have the ability to forge it into a mystical weapon, it wasn't hard to forge a rod that didn't require qi. The reason why Pin Liang was given this rod was to make up for Pin Liang's weakness of being only able to defend. Pin Liang's mid-level golden cicada undershirt could protect his entire body from harm. After putting it on, the exposed parts of his face and hands would automatically be protected. It was enough to prove that this mid-level golden cicada undershirt was a super treasure. But Pin Liang wasn't afraid of a fight. If others couldn't hit him, then he wouldn't be able to hit anyone. In order for him to win, Naipeo had asked his master, Pure Yang Sky Master, to forge this mystical steel rod for him. Although this black iron steel rod was not a heaven rank divine weapon, it could hit all cultivators below the heaven rank. True chi protection was useless. Encountering this black iron steel rod, which was used to forge heaven rank divine weapons, one would still be injured. But Pin Liang didn't have qi, and the damage he could do was limited. The lower the practitioner's level, the more damage he could deal. Plus, it was suitable for a long fight, and 1 or 2 hits wouldn't cause too much damage. This thing wasn't afraid of qi protection, but the damage it could deal depended on Pin Liang's strength. The stronger he was, the more vicious the damage he could deal. And so, Li Biaohan was in big trouble. Pin Liang entered the boxing club alone and started smashing Li Biaohan with his steel rod. It didn't matter if it was Li Biaohan or his men. No matter how they fought back, Zhong Pingliang didn't dodge. As strong as Li Biaohan was, he couldn't handle Pin Liang's relentless attacks. After a while, his head was bleeding and he fainted on the ground. His lackeys were also crying out in pain from Pin Liang's attacks. Listen up, I'm Zhong Pingliang, the boss of this school from now on. I'm now the leader of the school's young thugs. Anyone who isn't convinced can come and find me anytime. Pin Liang knocked all the boxing club members to the ground as he raised his steel rod. Mengyao is my goddess. Anyone who dares to bully her is my enemy. I'm Yao Yao's personal bodyguard now. Come at me if you want to die. After declaring Mengyao's ownership, Pin Liang and Xiaofu left the boxing club in a high-profile manner. Xiaofu, on the other hand, didn't make a move. Only when he saw that Pin Liang had won did he jump out and cheer. News spread like wildfire in the school. and the news of Pinliang taking on the boxing club spread like wildfire. Yao Yao, I've taken care of that Li Biaohan. That guy's probably going to spend the next few months in the hospital. Pinliang said proudly. Yeah, Liang bro, you'll know once you make a move. The entire boxing club is useless now. Liang bro took them on all by himself. Xiaofu added. Meng Yao froze. She didn't expect Pinliang to be this strong. Yushu, on the other hand, looked at Pinliang in disbelief. How did he become this strong? No way. She had to find something to evaluate his strength and see if he was as strong as Shield Bro. If he was stronger than Shield Bro, she had to think of a way to get rid of him. Oh, Liangyi, I didn't expect this. You're making me dig my eyes out. Yushu said, surprised. Haha, that's right. Shu, do you think I'm qualified to be Yao Yao's bodyguard now? Pinliang thought that Yushu really admired him. It wasn't surprising. He was so strong now, and his mentality had changed. He thought that he was the strongest. Now? I don't think so. That Li Biaohan is just the weakest. You beat him up, and that means you have a chance to be Yao Yao's bodyguard, but it's just a chance. Yushu said. Next, I'll give you a few missions to test you. If you complete them, I'll recommend you to Yao Yao and let you be her bodyguard. Yushu was trying to trick Pinliang again. He passed the mission, and it was just a recommendation. If Meng Yao didn't agree, everything would go to waste. But Pinliang's confidence was inflated, and naturally, he didn't know that Yushu was messing with him. Instead, he was eager to show off. All right, tell me. I'll beat up whoever you want me to beat up, as many times as you want me to beat up. There's someone called Tiger Right. He has a golden class and a mystic class with him. Can you handle them? Yushu started to trick Tiger Right again. Golden class and mystic class? It's nothing. Tell me, where are they from? Pinliang nodded after hearing the twos levels. They're biology majors. Yushu said, all right, I'll go deal with them. Pinliang nodded and strode out of the cafeteria, looking for Tiger Right and his men. Yushu realized that something was wrong as well. Pinliang should know how strong a mystic class master was, but judging from his nonchalant attitude, it didn't seem like he was afraid of a mystic class master at all. Yao Yao, something's not right. Is Pinliang an earth class already? Yushu looked at Pinliang's back in disbelief. That's weird. Shu, don't shoot yourself in the foot. What if he's really strong? Are you really going to let him be my bodyguard? Meng Yao said, speechless. I won't. My last mission is to have him fight with Shield Bro. If he beats Shield Bro, I'll recommend him, Yushu said. Oh, then you're setting him up? Meng Yao nodded, but then frowned. What if he's really stronger than Linny? Yushu hesitated. Yao Yao, actually, if he's stronger than Shield Bro and he comes to bother you, there's nothing we can do. You're right, Meng Yao thought about it. Then, will Lin Yi be his match? Chapter 2489. I don't know. I'll test him a little more. Maybe he'll accept the inheritance? How did he get so strong all of a sudden? What a scam. Yushu couldn't understand how Pinliang had become so strong all of a sudden. Inheritance? No way. Meng Yao paused, feeling uneasy. She was really afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to take him on. Panhu Right was very happy today because Lin Yi didn't come to school. These days, he and Zhaolong had been pretending to be obedient with Lin Yi around. It wasn't that they were cowards, it was just that Lin Yi had brought them too much shock. Today, Lin Yi wasn't here, and Panhu Right and Zhaolong had been laying low for the whole morning. They were just about to go meet Han Jingjing when someone shouted at the door. Where's Panhu Right? Who's Panhu Right? Get your ass out here, Liang bro. Pinliang knocked on the door with his steel rod as he yelled. Panhu Right froze. He was considered a tough guy in school. Other than Lin Yi, who else would dare to disrespect him? Even Li Biaohan from the Firewolves and Niadeo from the Hidden House wouldn't dare say something like that. Other than Lin Yi, no one else dared to use the word fuck off on him. Who are you? Do you want to die? How dare you insult our master Panhu? Before Panhu Right could say anything, his two lackeys stood up and charged at the door. You two are Panhu Right's lackeys? A golden class and a mystic class? Pinliang asked as he looked at the two rushing at him. That's right. Where are you from? Yellow Hair paused. He didn't think that this guy would know his and Purple Hair's strength. He didn't seem like an idiot who didn't know anything. Could it be that he had some sort of background? Oh, if that's the case, then prepare to get beaten up. Pinliang's rod smashed over, hitting Blondie's head. He didn't split his head open, but it was still enough to draw blood. Yellow Hair didn't think that Pinliang would hit him just like that. He didn't say anything, so he didn't put up any defenses and got hit. This time, he didn't fall to the ground, but he was still dizzy. Before he could react, the rod came smashing over again. Bang, bang, bang. Pinliang's speed was fast. He knew his weakness and wanted to finish the fight as soon as possible. Little bastard, you're courting death. The Yellow Hair was furious. Purple Hair, kill him. Purple Hair also reacted at this moment. When he saw Pinliang smashing his metal rod at Goldie, he threw a punch at Pinliang. However, Purple Hair was puzzled. This Zhong Pinliang didn't seem to be a practitioner. That iron rod was pretty strong, but he couldn't tell his level at all. This guy didn't have any true chi at all, and he couldn't be like other external martial arts experts who could mobilize the surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth to form true chi. Just how strong was this guy? However, no matter how strong he was, Purple Hair was confident that he could cripple Zhong Pinliang with one punch. He was a mystic class master. The punch wasn't weak, and he purposely held back some of his strength. Otherwise, he could have killed Pinliang with just one punch. It was just that what happened next was a little inconceivable for Purple Hair. Purple Hair's fist landed on Pinliang's body. Pinliang didn't seem to have any reaction at all. He didn't dodge, didn't even make a sound, and continued to beat the Yellow Hair with the metal rod. Bang, bang, bang. Pinliang smashed faster and faster, getting better and better. This was the first time he realized how fun it was to hit people. No wonder Linny liked to bully him. Ouch! The Yellow Hair panicked when he saw that Purple Hair couldn't take down Pinliang. He didn't care about using pure energy to protect his body anymore. He charged at Pinliang and started punching and kicking. But the tragic thing was, although his punches and kicks landed on Pinliang's body, it didn't seem to have any effect, because Pinliang was still beating him fiercely. He didn't care about his and Purple Hair's attacks. Finally, the Yellow Hair's vision became blurry, and he lost his footing. He fainted on the ground, and Pinliang turned around and started beating Purple Hair with the steel rod. This feeling made Pinliang feel like he was walking on air. When he fought with others, others couldn't beat him, but he could beat them. Purple Hair realized that something was wrong. The kid in front of him clearly wasn't afraid of hitting. No matter how he hit him, it was useless. He didn't seem to be injured at all, and he had already suffered many external injuries. Purple Hair also realized that the rod in Pinliang's hand wasn't a normal metal rod. It seemed to be a treasure that could pass through his pure energy protection and directly hurt his body. Thinking of this, Purple Hair reached out to snatch the steel rod from Pinliang's hand. But, just as his hand grabbed the end of the steel rod, he suddenly felt a strong high-voltage electricity coming from the end of the steel rod, directly spreading through Purple Hair's body. Purple Hair cried out in pain, and after a while, he fell to the ground with black smoke coming out of his head. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. SB. Pinliang looked at the Purple Hair on the ground in disdain. This steel rod was something Zhang Naipeo had asked the Pure Young Sky Master to design for him. The Everyday Sect was a demonic sect, and naturally, they had some demonic methods. Although they couldn't make Sky-class weapons, they could modify some mechanisms in the weapons. For example, Pinliang's steel rod had some mechanisms installed in it, and when someone tried to snatch it, it would automatically release high-voltage electricity. Right coiling tigers stood in the classroom, dumbfounded at the sudden appearance of this devil. He was shocked. Who was this kid? Where did he come from? How could he be so ferocious that he could beat his two subordinates to the ground? It's your turn. Pinliang used the steel rod to point at Right Coiling Tiger. Come over. If you don't defend, I'll give you a quick death. Who are you? Did I offend you? You Coiling Tiger felt a little guilty. Although he was very powerful in the Yu family, he was not powerful now. The person in front of him was obviously very strong. Most importantly, he was not afraid of fighting. This made you coiling tiger tremble with fear. I'm Zhong Pinliang. Pinliang knocked on the door frame. You didn't offend me, but you offended my goddess. Who's your goddess? Right coiling tiger paused. Ming Yao. I'm her personal bodyguard. Pinliang said. Ming Yao? Right coiling tiger paused again, almost crying. Fuck. When did I offend her? I don't even know her. The only contact I've had is when that girl next to her hit me with a bowling ball. I'm the victim. Chapter 2490. I don't care. My goal is to beat you up. Pinliang didn't care how Coiling Tiger explained. His goal was to beat Coiling Tiger up and get credit from Yushu. He didn't care if Coiling Tiger's words were true or not. I'm the second young master of the hidden house you. You'll be in trouble if you beat me up. Coiling Tiger had no choice but to bring out the house you's name, hoping that Pinliang would be scared and stop. What hidden house you? It's just a small hidden house, it's nothing. I'm the disciple of the everyday and everyday sex master, pure young sky master. With that, Pinliang raised his steel rod and swung it at Tiger right. Coiling Tiger froze. Everyday and everyday sect? Why did their disciple come to Donghai Industry University? What was going on? But before he could figure it out, he was hit by Pinliang's iron rod. He wasn't even as good as purple hair and yellow hair. He was a pure elixir refiner with no attack or defense skills, and he had no experience at all. Cries of pain rang through the hallway, and it wasn't long before Coiling Tiger's eyes rolled back as he laid on the ground, accompanied by yellow hair and purple hair. Liang bro, you're amazing. At this moment, Gao Xiaofu appeared out of nowhere and said proudly, These people are a piece of cake for Brother Liang. That's right. Don't you know who gave me this treasure? Pinliang left the biology building with Xiaofu and went to find Ming Yao and Yushu. Ming Yao and Yushu didn't think that Pinliang would come back so fast, coming back in the blink of an eye. Liangi, you took care of that coiling tiger? Yushu felt that things weren't looking good. It seemed like Pinliang was many times stronger than before. Ha, of course, look at who did it. Pinliang smiled. That kid and his two underlings were no match for me. They're just trash. How about it? Do I have the right to be Yao Yao's personal bodyguard now? Yushu hesitated. No, these people are small fries. Shield Bro can take care of them in a matter of minutes. If you want to be Sister Yao Yao's personal expert, you still need to work hard. I see. Pinliang was a little disappointed, but it made sense. Linny was already in Earth class. Beating up Mystic and Golden class practitioners would be a piece of cake for him. He just proved that he could fight as well. But he didn't show Ming Yao and Yushu just how strong he was, and that was the problem. Yeah, so you still need to prove your strength. Yushu said. Then what's my next mission? Pinliang asked. About that. Let me think about it. I don't want to make it hard for you. Yushu said. How about this, Liangi? You go back and wait for my news. Oh, right. Sister Yao Yao said she wants to eat the spicy skewers from the food street in Songshan City. Go buy some. Oh, that works too. Zhong Pinliang nodded. Then he said, Isn't it just spicy skewers? I'll go buy them now. With that, Pinliang left with Xiaofu. Ming Yao, on the other hand, was a little troubled. Yushu might have sent Pinliang away for now, but he'd come back sooner or later to bother them, especially now that he'd become so powerful. It'd be even harder to get rid of him now. Shu, Pinliang's so strong. What should we do? Should we tell Lin Yi? Ming Yao thought about it. Yushu said, Yeah, we have to tell Shield Bro, but first we need to figure out why Pinliang's so strong. Yushu said, Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. Then how do we investigate him? Ming Yao asked. I'm going to talk to Han Jingjie. Doesn't she like to play with high-tech stuff? Let's see if she has a listening device or something. We'll put one on Pinliang, and we'll be able to eavesdrop on his secrets. Yushu said, Sounds good. Ming Yao nodded. And so, while Pinliang went to buy the spicy skewers, Yushu went to find Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing didn't have such a thing, but she knew where to buy it. But they knew where to buy it. Ming Yao drove the whole afternoon, bringing Han Jingjing and Shu to buy a listening device. When they came back, Zhong Pinliang had just come back as well, Ming Yao thought to herself that it was a close shave. Pinliang might suspect something if he saw that they weren't in school. In fact, it was all because of Meng Yao's guilty conscience. Pinliang wouldn't think much of it even if she wasn't in school. Shu, on the other hand, walked up to Pinliang with the listening device in her hand and took the piping hot spicy skewers from him with a smile. Liangi, thank you. Haha, you're welcome. It's what I should do. Pinliang said. I'll just treat it as a preview of what to do when I become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard. And, not bad. It's still warm. Yushu patted Pinliang's shoulder and stuck the listening device on his back. The listening device was very small, and it looked like a button on Pinliang's back. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. Yao Yao asked me to encourage you. Keep it up. Xiao Yangzi, you know, Sister Yao Yao likes brave people. I know. Pinliang thought that it was Meng Yao's idea when Yushu patted him on the shoulder. He was very excited. Yushu had been toying with him a lot in the past, but she had never patted him on the shoulder like this. This kind of change was enough to show the change in Meng Yao's heart. If Meng Yao still hated him that much, she wouldn't have told Yushu to pat his shoulder to encourage him. From what Pinliang could see, Yushu had always been looking down on him. She had never been this kind before. It's good that you know. Yushu nodded. There are some things that Yao Yao is too embarrassed to say. I'll pass it on for her. Do you want to hear it? Yes, of course I want to hear it. Pinliang replied quickly. All right, since you want to hear it, I'll tell you. Right now, we've only seen a part of what you're capable of. To be precise, we don't know much about you yet. How about this? Try your best to challenge some masters and make a name for yourself. That's the only way you can become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard, Yushu said. You think I don't want to touch Jiangwen? One of my kidneys was cut off by him. If possible, I'd send him to heaven first. But no, they're not afraid of us. Then we'll start with Zhao Qibing? Xiaofu said. That's the only way. Pinliang nodded. Let's beat up that Zhao Qibing first. We'll think of something else. All right, we'll go find Zhao Qibing later. Xiaofu nodded. Later, my ass. Are you stupid? Beating up Zhao Qibing at House Zhao is suicide. Pinliang raged. Either we hide our identity and get beaten up by that sky-class master, old Zhao, or we reveal our identity. But we definitely won't be able to fight. Then what do we do? Xiaofu asked carefully. He realized that his IQ wasn't enough anymore. It seemed like Liang Bro really wasn't the Liang Bro he used to be. He was much more intelligent now. In fact, a person would definitely grow after going through big ups and downs. It was just that Pinliang's comprehension was stronger. Let's go find Right Coiling Tiger. That guy definitely knows Zhao Qibing. Let him make a call. Ask Zhao Qibing out. He knows who we are. He wouldn't dare disobey us, Pinliang said. That works. Xiaofu thought about it and realized that Liang Bro was smart. And so, the two went back to find Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger had just woken up, and although he didn't need to go to the hospital after taking the elixir, he was still heavily injured and could only rest in his seat. The three of them were very depressed. They didn't even know Ming Yao and Yushu, and they were beaten up for no reason. This guy was a disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect too. It was impossible for them to take revenge. Even the people from the Sky Elixir sect had to avoid the people from the Everyday and Everyday sect. There was no other reason other than that these people were too evil. Just like that Pinliang from before. He didn't seem to have much attack power, and his combat ability was very low, but he was very resistant. There was also a clear difference between him and the disciples of the Golden Bell sect. He didn't have any strength at all, unlike the physical practitioners. That wasn't all. The iron rod in his hand was even weirder. The seemingly ordinary iron rod was able to pierce through the chi protection. It was a little strange. How unlucky. I thought that Linny would be gone for a few days, and then this Zhong Pinliang came out of nowhere. F***CK. Right Coiling Tiger was furious. Right Master. Did this guy hit the wrong person? We didn't bully Ming Yao at all, but you got smashed in the head by that big tits girl next to Ming Yao. This is too unfair. Yellow Hair said angrily. What can we do about it? Right Coiling Tiger said helplessly. We can't just take revenge, can we? Let's not talk about whether we can beat him or not. Even if we can, do you think his background is weak? He's from the everyday sect. Luckily, he didn't want our lives, so we'll let this pass. Chapter 2492. However, Pinliang brought Xiaofu into the classroom as he spoke, still holding his steel rod in his hand. Yu coiling tiger hurriedly lay on the table and pretended to be dead. Previously, he had wasted a small rejuvenation pill to heal his injuries. If he were to be beaten again, not only would he be in pain, but he would also lose his small rejuvenation pill. He couldn't possibly carry a bunch of small rejuvenation pills with him every day, right? Hey, don't play dead. Pinliang smashed the steel rod on the corner of Yu Coiling Tiger's table. Ah, I'm dead. Yu Coiling Tiger said. Motherfucker, you're lying to me, right? You think I'm easy to bully? If it was Linny, would you dare lie to me like that? Pinliang raged. Fine, I'm alive again. Yu Coiling Tiger jumped and sat up, his face bitter. Liang bro, why are you here again? Didn't you teach us a lesson? We know, we won't mess with Ming Yao anymore, okay? That's not it. Pinliang waved his hand. Do you know Zhao Qibing? Zhao Qibing? I do. Why are you asking about him? Yu Coiling Tiger paused. Good, Pinliang said. Call him now and ask him out. I don't care what reason you have. I want to see him before school ends today. Ask him out? Liang bro, Yu Coiling Tiger let out a breath of relief when he heard that Pinliang wasn't here to beat him up, but at the same time, he was confused. Why was he looking for Zhao Qibing? Oh, I'm going to beat him up, but don't tell him. If he runs away, I'll have to beat you up, Pinliang said. I see, that's easy. Yu Coiling Tiger nodded, thinking that it was fine as long as it had nothing to do with him. As for Zhao Qibing, he didn't care if he lived or died. The relationship between the hidden house Zhao and the hidden house Yu wasn't that good anyways. Yu Coiling Tiger sold Zhao Qibing out. All right, call me when he's here. Here's my number. Pinliang was very happy to see Right Panhu's cooperation. He left his number and left with Xiaofu. Got it, Liang bro. Panhu Right wrote down Pinliang's number, wondering if this guy was Lin Yi's enemy. If it was Lin Yi's enemy, then he could sit on the mountain and reap the spoils. But it seemed that this guy's goal was similar to Lin Yi's. Lin Yi's enemy was Pinliang's enemy? Yu Panhu gave Zhao Qibing a call. The reason was simple. There was someone in school who wanted to see him, and it was someone who was very likely to come. Zhao Qibing was fighting for the position of the young head of the hidden house Zhao, and when he heard that Panhu Right had a very powerful friend who wanted to see him, he happily drove to Donghai Industry University. Panhu Right, on the other hand, called Pinliang and told him to wait for Zhao Qibing at the parking lot in front of the school. Not long after, Zhao Qibing drove his new Porsche Cayenne to Donghai Industry University. He parked the car in the parking lot and was about to call Tiger Right when someone knocked on the car door. What? Zhao Qibing rolled down the window and asked Pinliang angrily, Who the hell are you? Fuck. Zhao Qibing, don't you recognize me? Pinliang smashed his rod down on the front of Zhao Qibing's car, forming a dent. You're Zhong Pinliang? Zhao Qibing looked at Zhong Pinliang and froze. He recognized him. Zhong Fabai used to be Zhao Qibing's underling. How could Zhao Qibing not recognize Pinliang? But he didn't understand why Pinliang would call himself your father in front of him. Did this kid want to die? Very well, you still recognize me. Pinliang reached out and grabbed Zhao Qibing's collar. Get out of the car. Fuck. You used to order me and my dad around like dogs, offending Linny, and I almost died. You, on the other hand, just left like that. Are you crazy? How dare you insult me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am now? Zhao Qibing raged. How could he tolerate his underling ordering him around? He pushed the door open and got out of the car. I do. Aren't you Zhao Qibing from the hidden house, Zhao? You're the one I'm hitting. Pinliang's rod smashed into Qibing's head, making him lose his bearings. You dare hit me? Zhao Qibing was shocked and angry, but Pinliang's rod came smashing at him again. Zhao Qibing didn't dare to be careless. He quickly channeled his practitioner's arts and used his pure qi to protect his body. Then, he kicked at Pinliang. But Pinliang didn't dodge or dodge. He let Zhao Qibing kick him, but the rod in his hand kept smashing into Zhao Qibing's body. Zhao Qibing kicked Pinliang twice before realizing that his pure chi protection was useless. Pinliang's rod was still coming at him, and he was still hurting. Was the pure chi protection useless? Or did Pinliang have the ability to break through it? Zhao Qibing was shocked at the thought. He quickly used his hands to protect his head so that he wouldn't bleed. Then, he kicked at Pinliang with both legs. Fuck, your legs are pretty strong, aren't they? I'll let you kick me. Pinliang saw that Zhao Qibing used his hands to protect his head and swung his rod, hitting Zhao Qibing's right leg. Ouch! Zhao Qibing cried out in pain. His leg was his weakest part, and although Pinliang's rod didn't break it, it was still painful enough to make him grimace. I'll let you kick me. I'll let you kick me. I'll let you kick me. I'll let you kick me, Pinliang said as he swung the steel rod at Qibing's legs. In an instant, Qibing's good leg was crippled, and he fell to the ground on his butt. Pinliang didn't seem to be satisfied yet. He swung the rod at Zhao Qibing's other leg, and with a series of smashes, Zhao Qibing's left leg was broken as well. The tragic Zhao Qibing could only lie on the ground and twitch. You? Zhong Pinliang. I'll remember you. The hidden house Zhao won't let you go. Zhao Qibing didn't know how Pinliang became so strong, but he couldn't help but threaten him. Oh, whatever. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm the head of the Everyday and Everyday sect, Pure Yang Sky Master. If you want to go against the Everyday and Everyday sect, go ahead. I don't mind letting my master kill you all. Pinliang said calmly. Wah. Zhao Qibing was dumbfounded by Pinliang's words. Chapter 2493. It was so cool to watch without ads. He had never expected Pinliang to be from the ancient sect, the Everyday and Everyday sect. No wonder he was so strong. He had a master. Not to mention the ancient sects, just Linny alone was enough to render the hidden house Zhao helpless. The hidden house Zhao definitely didn't dare to provoke the ancient sects, so Zhao Qibing stopped moving. It seemed like he had broken his leg for nothing again. I say, Zhao Qibing, do you still want revenge? Pinliang was overjoyed when he saw Zhao Qibing's dispirited expression the moment he heard the name of the Everyday and Everyday sect. The sect's name was indeed resounding. Pinliang, even if you want me to die, you should at least know the reason. Although you used to be my underling, I treated you well, didn't I? Why did you hit me like this? Qibing didn't think about revenge anymore. He just wanted to know what was going on. It's nothing, actually. My goddess told me to hit you. You didn't mess with me, but you messed with my goddess. Pinliang said. Your goddess? Who is it? Qibing paused before remembering Pinliang's crush. Chu Mingyao? That's right, Chu Mingyao. Pinliang nodded. You're in cahoots with Lin Yi? Qibing jumped in fright at Pinliang's admission. Of course not. I'm trying to steal his position. Pinliang said. Right? Let me ask you. What's Lin Yi's strength now? Strength? Earth class mid-phase or peak mid-phase? Qibing said. Why are you asking? You can beat Lin Yi? Earth class, huh? That's not a problem. I'll get him. Pinliang nodded in relief. All right, Zhao Qibing. I'm done with you. You can leave now. Since you used to be my boss, I won't knock you out. I'll let you leave awake. Pinliang nodded after hearing that. Qibing was about to say that he was looking for someone when he thought of something. You didn't ask upon who to call me, did you? That's me. Zhong Pinliang nodded. What the F asterisk CK? Right, coiling tiger is too much. How dare he trick me? Qibing was pissed. Oh, I beat him up too. Pinliang said nonchalantly. He's worse off than you. He's unconscious. I see. Qibing felt much better after hearing that. He took out his phone and called the hidden house Zhao, asking them to pick him up. I'm going. It's time for me to report to my goddess. Pinliang said as he walked towards the economics building with Xiaofu in tow, his staff in hand. Yushu, on the other hand, had heard everything clearly and told Mingyao everything that had happened. You're saying that Zhong Pinliang joined the Everyday and Everyday sect and became their leader? Mingyao was shocked. And he got his hands on the golden cicada underwear as well? Is it because of this underwear that he can take a beating? That should be the case. Yushu nodded. That underwear. Didn't Linny give us one too? Mengyao remembered the low-class golden cicada underwear that Linny won at the Hidden House Summit. But ours isn't as high class as Zhong Pingliang's. Yeah, the underwear that Shield Bro won can only defend against Earth class and below. It's useless against Earth class and above. Yushu nodded. Linny had wanted to wash the underwear and give it to Mengyao or Yushu for protection, but Chuntian could take care of anyone below Earth class, so the golden cicada underwear was useless. He'd left it at home and never used it. So that's how Zhong Pingliang got so strong. He's just a cockroach that can't be killed. He doesn't have any real skills. Mengyao said, but that iron rod of his seems to be a little mysterious. Masters like Zhao Qibing and Right Coiling Tiger have chi protection, but Zhong Pingliang can still fight. Yeah, this guy has quite a lot of treasures on him. Yushu's eyes rolled around as she started thinking about Pingliang's treasures. Shu, you're not thinking about taking his stuff for yourself, are you? Mengyao knew Shu's expression all too well. One look, and you could tell that she was after Pingliang's stuff. Hehehehe. Yushu laughed evilly. This is good stuff. So what if it's good stuff? You can't just take it from Pingliang's body, can you? Mengyao said helplessly. That's true, but we can think of something. Yushu said. No matter what, let's tell Linny about what happened here so he can prepare himself. Let's see if he can think of a way to deal with Pingliang. Mengyao said. Yeah, that's a good idea. But wait, Pingliang's here again. Yushu said. As expected, not long after, Pingliang appeared in front of Mengyao and Yushu's classroom. Compared to how arrogant he was when he went to Coiling Tiger Right, Pingliang was much more well-behaved in front of Mengyao's classroom. The steel rod in his hand was disguised as a baseball bat, and it wasn't that eye-catching when he carried it on his shoulder. Pingliang walked up to Mengyao and Yushu with a smile on his face. Yao Shu, I've beaten up that Zhao Qibing. Is there anything else I can do for you? I heard you only broke Zhao Qibing's legs, didn't knock him out? You seem to have gone easy on him. Is there something going on between you? Yushu asked. Pingliang paused. He didn't think that the news would spread so fast. Yushu knew about it right after he beat up Zhao Qibing. Did she have eyes and ears nearby? But when he thought about it, it made sense that Lin Yi would arrange bodyguards around Mengyao and Yushu. With that thought, Pingliang started to put up his guard. He wasn't afraid of being ambushed, but the feeling of being watched was very uncomfortable. That's not it, Pingliang quickly explained. Actually, I heard that Lin Yi likes to break Zhao Qibing's legs, right? That's why I copied Lin Yi. That won't do. If you copy Shield Bro, we only need Shield Bro. Why would we need a fake version like you? Yushu said with a wave of her hand. Liang Yi, your next step is to surpass Shield Bro in all aspects. For the latest chapters, please log in. It's a pleasure to read. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2494. It felt so good to watch it without ads. Well, of course. Pingliang quickly nodded. Shu, what do you think I should do next? Next? I haven't thought of what to do yet. Just wait. Yushu said. I'll let you know when I'm done. I see. Then when can I become Yao Yao's bodyguard? Pingliang asked impatiently. I say, Liang Yi, haven't you heard of this saying? Haste makes waste. Do you know how long Shield Bro had been with Yao Yao for Yao Yao to accept him? Yushu himphed. Didn't you see how much Yao Yao begged Shield Bro at the beginning? She even used you to teach him a lesson in school. Yeah. Pingliang remembered what had happened back in school. That was indeed the case. Back when he, Naipeo, and Gao Xiaofu were causing trouble for Lin Yi, Mengyao and Yushu had been very excited about it. That meant that Mengyao had taken a long time to accept Lin Yi as her bodyguard, and that meant that replacing Lin Yi's position wasn't something that could be achieved in 1 or 2 days. So, Liang Yi, you should be grateful that I didn't encourage Yao Yao to get people to hurt you. It's good enough that I didn't stop you. If you're so impatient, I won't help you anymore. Yushu threatened. Don't. Please don't. Pingliang was really scared. Shu sis, you know me. I've always listened to you. It's always been like this, and it's still the same now. Look, you told me to buy spicy skewers, and I did. I'm always listening to you. Yeah, so I'll try my best. But you need to be strong yourself. Go back and wait for my news. I'll let you know when I think of the next mission, Yushu said. All right, I'll leave first, Shu sis. Pinliang nodded to Yushu respectfully before leaving with Gao Xiaofu. Lin Yi listened to Meng Yao's story and felt a headache coming on. Pinliang had gotten a golden cicada undergarment from the everyday sect. Moreover, it seems to be a high-grade item that can resist the attacks of powerhouses under the heaven rank. Isn't this a bit too amazing? Not only that, he also had an iron rod that could break through the protection of Jinqi. Wasn't this a legendary divine weapon? Pinliang had gained quite a lot from this. It seemed like the everyday sect really valued him, or rather, valued Zhang Naipeo, for Naipeo's sake. Had Naipeo recovered? Linny hadn't heard from Naipeo in a long time. He'd crippled him last time. Could it be that he'd recovered after going back and was able to continue? With that thought, Lin Yi's face turned solemn. It seemed like he couldn't underestimate the everyday sect. They were an ancient sect after all, able to recover from wounds like Naipeo's. Of course, this was all Lin Yi guessed from Pinliang's situation. If Naipeo wasn't fine and able to continue, then he'd be useless. The everyday sect wouldn't care about Naipeo at all. Zhang Naipeo's this strong now? Lin Yi took a deep breath. He didn't say it, but he was worried. Would he be able to deal with him? Although he was currently in the Earth stage, he could activate a martial skill equivalent to a Heaven stage expert. Yeah, Lin Yi, do you have a way to beat him? Meng Yao asked. Yushu could deal with Pinliang for a while, but it wouldn't be for long. Once Pinliang came, Lin Yi would have to deal with him. Hard to say. Lin Yi frowned. I don't know much about the golden cicada underwear. I'll ask Han Xiaopa later. But don't provoke him for now. Just let Shu deal with him. We'll talk about it when I get back. All right, I understand. Shu can still stall for some time. It's not too urgent. Don't worry too much. Meng Yao comforted. Yeah, I know. I'll think of something. Lin Yi said. All right, I won't disturb you anymore. You. Be careful. Meng Yao said. Haha, okay. Lin Yi hung up the phone with a smile. The miss still couldn't let go of herself in front of him. She was more concerned about him now, but Lin Yi still felt like something was missing. Was it? It seemed like that was the case. The two were a little too polite, but it was nothing. Lin Yi turned around and left the room. He had two things to do. One was to trade the ice crystal for the earth element sky class blood from the sky class, and the other was to find Han Xiaopa to research the golden cicada underwear. He came to Han Xiaopa's room and knocked on the door. Boss. Han Xiaopa saw Lin Yi through the peephole and quickly opened the door. He didn't expect Lin Yi to find him so soon. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi had to deal with Yang Qiqi first, then Xiaoka. The night would be gone by then. He walked into Han Xiaopa's room, and Han Xiaopa closed the door behind him. Boss, did you take care of things on your side? Haha, it's done. Lin Yi smiled. I have something to ask you. Boss, don't say that. Just say it. I'll tell you everything I know. Han Xiaopa quickly said. It's about the golden cicada underwear. Do you know about this thing? Lin Yi asked. I do. Didn't you win one at the Hidden House Summit? Han Xiaopa nodded. I did, but it's a low-tier golden cicada underwear. It can only defend against attacks from those below Earth class. Lin Yi nodded. Do you know what golden cicada underwear is? It can defend against attacks from those below Sky class? Oh? Boss, you're talking about mid-tier golden cicada underwear? Mid-tier golden cicada underwear can defend against attacks from those below Sky class. Han Xiaopa said. But this thing is a treasure. Only those powerful blacksmiths and Sky class golden cicada spirit beasts could make it. Mid-tier golden cicada underwear? Lin Yi nodded. Then there's also a high-tier one? The legends say that if you wear it, you'll be invincible under the heavenly Tao. Of course, that's just a legend. Whether or not it really exists, and who has it, I've never heard of it. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly. After all, this thing is too heaven-defying. If it were to appear in the world, there would be a bloodbath for it. Oh, That's true. Linny took in a cold breath. To be continued. For the latest chapters, please log in. Reading is a pleasure. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2495. If there really was such a thing, then wouldn't it be invincible? Only the legendary elites in the Tao of Heaven could hurt the person wearing the high-grade golden cicada undergarment. Boss, why are you suddenly asking this? Han Xiaopa asked curiously. Did someone bring out this treasure to trade in this trade fair? No, I didn't. One of my old enemies joined the Everyday sect as a disciple and got a mid-level golden cicada undergarment. I don't know how to deal with him. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Han Xiaopa. Oh, that's not good. Han Xiaopa thought about it, but couldn't think of anything. He shook his head. I've only heard of it. I've never seen it before. The hidden house Han doesn't have any records of it either. Yeah, I'll think of something myself, Linny nodded. If it comes down to it, I'll have to ask Old Pai to do it. If Linny really couldn't beat Pinliang, he'd have to ask Old Pai to intimidate him. Lin Yi didn't have any other ideas right now. That's good. Sky Class Masters are actually the best counter to mid-tier golden cicada underwear, Han Xiaopa said. One more thing. How do we find the practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? Linny asked. Practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? What do you want to trade, boss? Han Xiaopa asked. The blood of the earth element Sky Class Spirit Beast. Linny said. You should remember. The cool girl in the black leather shirt and pants asked about that thing. Oh, it's that thing. Han Xiaopa nodded. We'll have to go to the reception downstairs to check. Some traders will register the items they want to trade when they register their room number. This is also to hide the trade. Some practitioners who aren't strong enough don't want to trade in public because they're afraid of being targeted. Then let's go take a look, Linny said. Okay, but he might not register it, Han Xiaopa said as he left the room with Lin Yi. Well, let's wait and see. Lin Yi was just trying. If it didn't work out, he would think about it tomorrow. The two went downstairs together. When they arrived at the reception desk on the first floor, Han Xiaopa asked, Hello, I would like to ask if there are any customers registered to trade for the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven rank Spirit Beast? Sir, please wait a moment. Let me check for you, the waiter said. All right. Han Xiaopa nodded. The waiter skillfully searched for the information of the transaction item that Han Xiaopa had mentioned, and then said, Yes, there is indeed this information on the registration level. Can we trade with him? Han Xiaopa asked. Wait a moment. Let me ask. With that said, the waiter dialed an internal number. After getting a positive response from the other side, he said to Han Xiaopa, Yes, but please show me your room card information first. I have to make a registration. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took out their room cards and handed them to the attendant. The purpose of this was to ensure the safety of the transaction process. If there was any dispute, they could still find each other. After the attendant registered, he said to Han Xiaopa, The trader is waiting for you in room 4109. Please take the elevator this way. Thank you. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took back their room cards, and then the two of them took the elevator and went upstairs. The two of them stopped in front of room 4109. Lin Yi knocked on the door. The voice of the heaven-rank cultivator that they had met during the day came out. Please come in. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa pushed the door open and entered. It seemed that the heaven-rank cultivator had already made preparations to welcome the guests. There was a tea set on the coffee table, and hot water was also prepared. Please take a seat. Do you want to trade the blood of an Earth Attribute Heaven-rank Spirit Beast? The heaven-rank cultivator pointed to the sofa at the side and went straight to the point. He was a heaven-rank expert, so he was naturally not afraid of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. There were only a few heaven-rank experts that came to this trade fair, and he knew all of them. Yes. Lin Yi nodded and sat on the sofa with Han Xiaopa. Please have some tea. The heaven-rank cultivator pointed to the tea set on the coffee table, not intending to pour tea for Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa himself. But it was no wonder. He was a heaven-rank cultivator, so it was normal for him to have a high and mighty attitude. Since the two of you are here, I'm sure you know my rules. I only want to trade for something from a water attribute heaven-rank spirit beast. The heaven rank cultivator didn't come out. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa were the ones that followed Yang Qiqi during the day. He had been focusing on Yang Qiqi during the day, so he didn't have much of an impression of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. After all, there were a lot of practitioners that looked at his stuff. He couldn't remember them all. He only had some impression of Yang Qiqi, who wanted to trade. That's right. Lin Yi nodded again. But you're using the blood of an earth attribute heaven rank spirit beast to trade for something from a water attribute heaven rank spirit beast. It looks like a fair trade, but you're the one asking for a favor. Shouldn't you pay more? Haha, since you're here to trade, then the blood of an earth attribute heaven rank spirit beast should be useful to you as well, right? How could you say I'm asking for a favor? The heaven rank cultivator wasn't stupid. He smiled and said directly, I won't hide it from you. I'm only an Earth class mid-phase peak, and my friend is only an Earth class early phase. One of us is a fire element, and the other is a wood element. Linny said as he used the first form of Frenzy Fist to prove his words. Han Xiaopa, naturally, used a wood element to prove Lin Yi's words. The heaven rank cultivator looked at the arts and strength of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa and went silent. Lin Yi was right. The blood of an earth attribute heaven rank spirit beast wasn't that useful to them. To tell you the truth, I'm actually an opportunist. Linny said, I have something from a water attribute heaven rank spirit beast, but I don't need it. I'm here to trade with you because I want to get more benefits. What? You really have it? The heaven rank cultivator suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He had been looking for something from a water attribute heaven rank spirit beast for many years. Suddenly hearing that Linny had something like that, he was naturally overjoyed. I came here and said all this, so of course I have it. Linny smiled. So that's how it is. The heaven rank cultivator slowly nodded. Since you've made it very clear that you want more benefits, I won't bargain with you. Can I take a look at your goods first? As long as it's what I need, everything's negotiable. To be continued. Chapter 2496. Of course, that's not a problem. Linny reached into his pocket and took out the small bottle containing the ice crystal turtle saliva. He handed it to the heaven tier cultivator and said, It's here. The heaven tier cultivator took a deep breath and carefully took the small bottle from Lin Yi's hand. He opened it and was immediately overjoyed. That's right. He could feel the powerful water attribute energy contained in the small bottle. This was what he had been dreaming of. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. I finally found it. With it, I can modify the attributes of divine weapons. Resisting the urge to snatch it, the heaven tier cultivator carefully capped the bottle and placed it on the tea table. He said, Since you have raised your conditions, I will tell you the truth. My things are all here. You can take any one of them, including the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast. With that, the heaven tier cultivator opened a bag and placed it in front of Lin Yi. The small bottle containing the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast was also inside. It wasn't that the heaven tier cultivator didn't want to snatch Lin Yi's things. It was because the purpose of the cultivator market was to ensure fairness and justice in transactions. If there was a problem, then the Cultivator Trade Association would definitely pursue the matter. Although he was a heaven tier cultivator, there were even more powerful heaven tier cultivators in the Cultivator Trade Association. Moreover, the thing he had been looking for so many years had appeared. He didn't want to complicate matters. Anyway, the blood of the earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast was of little value to him. In fact, even if he wanted to snatch it, Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him. Since Lin Yi dared to come, he naturally had the confidence to escape unscathed. Spiritual beast core? Lin Yi looked at the heaven tier cultivator's bag in surprise. A round bead said in surprise, Oh, you want this thing? The heaven tier cultivator looked at Lin Yi in surprise and said, This is the core of that earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast. When I found it, it had just been killed by an enemy spirit beast, so I collected a bottle of its blood and retrieved its inner core. Then you only took one bottle of blood? What about the other things? Lin Yi asked with some pity. When it was killed by the spirit beast, Its blood had almost dried up. It took me a lot of effort to collect a small bottle. The Heaven Stage cultivator looked at Lin Yi and smiled bitterly. Otherwise, do you think I wouldn't bring more back? Moreover, there's nothing special on it. I see. Lin Yi nodded and said, then I want this beast core and that bottle of earth attribute heaven rank spiritual beast blood. All right, deal. The Heaven Stage cultivator readily agreed. This inner core was also useless to him. All right. Lin Yi picked up the small bottle and the inner core. He stood up with Han Xiaopa and said, since the deal is done, we'll be leaving. I won't see you out. The Heaven Rank cultivator nodded and then impatiently picked up the bottle of turtle spit ice crystals that Lin Yi had given him and impatiently studied it. Lin Yi smiled. He left the room with Han Xiaopa and walked towards their own room. Boss, you brought this back for that cool girl? Han Xiaopa was a little surprised at Lin Yi's actions. He didn't know why. Yeah. Lin Yi nodded. She wants this. It's for treating someone. At this point, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Yang Qiqi wanted to treat Little Nine. Little Nine? Lin Yi thought of someone. Could it be her? Hacker Princess? He remembered Yang Qiqi's identity. She was an assassin from Butterfly Castle. The Hacker Princess was also from Butterfly Castle, and her nickname was Little Nine. She was also sick. Could it be that Yang Qiqi was really looking for something to treat her? At this point, Lin Yi felt that this was very likely. Otherwise, it would be too much of a coincidence. If that was the case, then he wouldn't just be helping Yang Qiqi, but his old friend. The thought of the Hacker Princess gave Lin Yi a headache. He hadn't contacted her in a long time. Would she be angry if he did? After some thought, Lin Yi gave up on the idea of calling her to get to the bottom of things. Whether it was her or not, Lin Yi only had one more reason to help Yang Qiqi. I see. But boss, you're just too kind. Just because of this, you're giving the blood of an earth element sky class to that cool girl. Han Xiaopa said sincerely. You brat, you're just taking advantage of me. I help you level up, but can't I give something to someone else? Lin Yi smiled. Haha, of course not. Han Xiaopa was a little embarrassed. Let's go get some rest. There's probably nothing much to do today, Lin Yi said. It was a quiet night, and the next morning, Lin Yi saw Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka dressed neatly in front of his room. There was also a very tired Yang Qiqi, her eyes a little red. Evidently, Qiqi hadn't slept well last night. Before Lin Yi left the room, Qiqi had been glaring at Xiaoka. If looks could kill, Xiaoka would be dead already. Xiaoka, however, didn't even look at Qiqi. She sympathized with her, but Xiaoka wasn't a magnanimous person. This girl wanted to steal something from Lin Yi, and what right did she have? And so, Xiaoka didn't even look at her. Qiqi's glare was useless. Qiqi couldn't find a way to vent her frustration. All she could do was glare at Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to care. He nodded to Han Xiaopa. What time does the auction start? 9. Let's go get something to eat now? Han Xiaopa asked. Okay, Lin Yi said. Qiqi didn't know that Lin Yi had let her steal the blue crystal on purpose and thought that she'd been exposed. Lin Yi didn't say anything, but Qiqi knew that the chances were slim. She didn't even know why she followed Lin Yi around. Was it because she wanted to steal the blue crystal again? Or was it because she wanted to kill Lin Yi for humiliating her? Qiqi felt like her brain was a mess. She was like a walking corpse as she followed Lin Yi to the restaurant. Lin Yi ordered 4 servings of breakfast, and Qiqi sat there, not refusing any. She ate her portion, but didn't say anything. Han Xiaopa didn't say anything, either. He knew that Lin Yi had gotten back what Qiqi needed, but if Lin Yi didn't say anything, Han Xiaopa wouldn't say anything. He thought that Lin Yi wanted to teach Qiqi a lesson. Actually, Lin Yi really didn't want to teach Qiqi a lesson, but with Xiaoka here, Lin Yi didn't want to treat Qiqi too well. Chapter 2497. The surprise came from Xiaoka was interested in the male thief, and if he cared too much about Yang Qiqi, Xiaoka might get hurt. And so, Lin Yi was going to return the item to Yang Qiqi when there was no one around. After the 4 of them finished their breakfast, they walked towards the auction venue. There weren't many people entering the auction venue, only about 100 or so people. It seemed like many of the people who had participated in the market square didn't come to the auction. These people were still keen on setting up stalls to trade for goods. The items for auction were all written on the notice board outside the venue. Of course, there were some people who didn't want to attend the auction because there wasn't anything they wanted. At this moment, Lin Yi, Han Xiaopa, and the others were standing in front of the notice board, looking at the items being auctioned. There was no doubt that there would be a large number of elixirs for sale in this auction. Some of them were provided by Lin Yi, and the rest should be provided by the Hidden House of You. The number was about the same as what Lin Yi provided, but there were some additional level 1 and 2 elixirs for other purposes. Lin Yi skimmed through the names of the pills, his eyes finally stopping on pure topaz. There really was pure topaz being sold at this auction. It seemed like Han Xiaopa's information was true. In actuality, the Cultivator Trade Association would always leak some information about what was going to be auctioned, so it wasn't a big deal for Han Xiaopa to know about it beforehand. Lin Yi and the others entered the auction venue and found an empty seat. Han Xiaopa was just about to sit next to Lin Yi when he realized that Xiaoka was already sitting next to Lin Yi, and Yang Qiqi was about to sit on the other side. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly and sat next to Yang Qiqi. It was around 8:50, and most of the people had arrived. The vice chairman of Heaven class that Lin Yi had met at the entrance walked up to the stage with the pawnbroker. The Heaven rank vice leader sat on the side while the pawnbroker stood beside the Heaven rank vice leader. He picked up the microphone and said to the cultivators participating in the auction, "Welcome everyone to the auction organized by the Cultivator Trade Association. I'm Lu Xianxing, known as Mr. Lu in the pugilistic world. I'm also the auctioneer for this auction." Obviously, the people below the stage were not surprised that Lu Xianxing was on the stage as the auctioneer. It could be seen that he was the one who presided over the previous auctions. Although it was Lin Yi's first time participating, he had met him when he sent the pills to be auctioned previously, so there was nothing strange about it. All right, since no one has any objections, let's begin the auction. Lu Xianxing said, according to the previous rules, the first item to be auctioned is the elixir from the Hidden You family. This is also the item that occupies a large proportion of the auction every time. However, today's elixirs did not completely come from the Hidden Right family. There's also another seller who put up some pills for auction. Wow! Lu Xianxing's words caused an uproar. Everyone was shocked. Which sect or family had the ability to provide elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association? Could it be the Heavenly Elixir sect? However, although the Heavenly Elixir sect also provided elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association, they only provided some high-grade elixirs. Moreover, the number of elixirs they provided was scarce. They would not auction them in such a low-level market. Instead, they would auction them in other large-scale cultivator auctions. This low-end elixir business had always been monopolized by the Hidden You family. Even if the Heavenly Elixir sect refined these low-end elixirs, they would hand them over to the Hidden You family to auction. As for the other sects and families, they had never heard of anyone who could refine a large number of elixirs. Below the stage, a young man raised his eyebrows and looked at Lu Xianxing unhappily. This person was from the Hidden Right family. He was also the young man who had been arrogant and despotic at the entrance of the cultivator's market to clear the way for the Heaven stage expert who was a short robber. However, everyone doesn't have to be surprised. According to my appraisal, the elixirs provided by the other seller are not inferior to the elixirs provided by the Hidden You family in terms of quality and purity. They are even more balanced. There is no difference in quality between each elixir. Lu Xianxing threw out another bombshell. What? The cultivators below the stage exclaimed after hearing it. As everyone knew, although the Hidden You family was an alchemy family and many earth-level elixirs were provided to them by the Heavenly Elixir sect, not to mention that these elixirs were refined by different alchemy masters. Even the same alchemy master couldn't guarantee the same quality every time he refined the elixir. Maybe if the condition was good, the quality of the elixir would be excellent. If the condition was bad, the quality of the elixir would be worse. Forming the elixir was the most basic requirement. However, after forming the elixir, the purity and quality were still different. However, every auction was a mixed auction. It was impossible to let the auctioneer pick the good and the bad. It could only be determined by luck. But now, Lu Xianxing said that there was no difference in quality between the elixirs provided by the new seller. What kind of concept was this? How amazing was the alchemy master to be able to do this? Perhaps even the elder of the heavenly elixir sect couldn't do it, right? Other than the famous elder of the Xintian sect, perhaps only the medical Saint Zhang Liju could do it. Now, there was actually someone who could refine elixirs of the same quality? Everyone, don't be in a hurry to be shocked. I still have something to add, and that is, every single one of these pills is of the highest quality. You don't have to try your luck or gamble on your luck. You can directly buy them and bring them home. It was undeniable that Lu Xianxing's words were very provocative. It made many people's hearts stir after hearing it. However, the young man from the Hidden Yu family's face was even uglier. In the past, the Hidden Yu family was the backbone of every auction. Seeing their elixirs being bought by cultivators at high prices, the Hidden Yu family was very happy. But this time, there was an accident, and it was when the young man and his granddaughter were in charge. Naturally, he was very unhappy. They are all of the highest quality. Even if the price is higher, it's fine. A cultivator sitting below the stage suddenly said, "Nonsense, the price will definitely be higher. Everyone knows that it is the highest quality, so naturally, they will pay more." Another cultivator immediately said. It was just that Lin Yi felt that these two people were hired by the Cultivator Trade Association, but it didn't matter. The situation in front of him would only benefit Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to question them. Chapter 2504 Under School Bells, Bodyguard Free Reading. Chapter 2504 End of Bringing Surprises, Part 2. Chapter 2498. I don't believe it. From although some people thought that the two people who suddenly spoke might be fake, what they said was not wrong. It was reasonable for the best quality medicinal pills to have a higher price. Look, I don't believe it. It's impossible for someone to send better quality medicinal pills than us. You know, the medicinal pills this time are provided by the Heavenly Elixir sect. Do you mean that someone's medicinal pills are better than the Heavenly Elixir sect's? The young man finally couldn't help but stand up and ask. In the past auctions, the representatives of the Hidden Right family would always receive a lot of admiring gazes from other cultivators. However, this time, the same situation did not happen to the young man. He had coaxed and pestered his grandfather for a long time before he could attend this auction. In order to enjoy the admiring gazes of others, he had practiced acting tough for several days. He was prepared to say a few words when everyone was rushing to buy the elixir pills. Now that he had no place to use his skills, he suddenly became angry. "Pan Gao, if you don't believe me, you can come and appraise it." Lu Xianxing glanced at the young man and said faintly, "You're welcome." The young man hesitated a little. His grandfather was the guest elder of the Yu family. Because of his heaven stage strength, he was allowed to learn alchemy from the Yu family. He was also given the name Pan. Now, he was considered a first-grade alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not satisfactory, he still had the ability to distinguish the quality of medicinal pills. So, when Lu Xianxing made this proposal, he really wanted to go forward and verify the authenticity. He really didn't believe that someone's alchemy level was so high. Moreover, he knew the source of this batch of medicinal pills from the Yu family. It was sent by the Heavenly Elixir sect. So, even if someone's alchemy level surpassed the Hidden Yu family, it couldn't be better than the Heavenly Elixir sect, right? If you don't come and appraise it, then our auction will continue. Lu Xianxing said with a slight smile. He didn't want to offend the Hidden Yu family. After all, Lin Yi's medicinal pills of good quality might still be available in the future. So, the business between the Cultivator Trading Association and the Hidden Yu family still had to continue. It was all for the sake of getting a good price for these pills. Firstly, it was to express his goodwill to Lin Yi and see if they could work together for a long time. Secondly, it was to earn more commission for himself. All right then, since Mr. Lu has invited me so strongly, I shall act as the appraiser for everyone. Right Pan Gao made his decision in an instant. He stood up and walked slowly to the stage. The movement of the right arm. No one objected. After all, Mr. Liu had only been boasting about himself. After the auction ended, they had no way of finding fault with him. After all, the concept of a pill's quality was too vague. Whatever others said made sense. Of course, the reason why Right Pan Gao dared to go on stage was because his grandfather, the short robber, wasn't here. The short robber was actually here to hold the fort. After safely escorting the pills to this place, he spent the rest of the time cultivating in his room. He left everything to his grandson to handle. If the shorty was here, Right Pan Gao wouldn't go on stage so easily. He had to pretend to be well-behaved. It's here. Mr. Gao on the right, please appraise it for us. Lu Xianxing pushed a bunch of small bottles towards Right Pan Gao, indicating that he could take a few out for inspection. Right Pan Gao didn't stand on ceremony. He randomly picked up a small bottle and opened it. Inside was a small qi-gathering pill. Although he couldn't refine it, he was very familiar with it. Right Pan Gao's expression changed immediately. The small qi-gathering pill was round in shape. Its color was even and full. There were two faintly discernible lines on it, proving that it was a second-grade pill. These were all the characteristics of a supreme-grade pill. Right Pan Gao naturally recognized it. Of the pills he sent over, only a few could reach this quality. The rest were either uneven in color, oval in shape, or had no lines. Of course, these only affected the final effect of the pill. It didn't mean that there was no effect. In other words, the effect was just slightly weaker. It must be a fluke. Yu Pangao thought that he had casually picked up the best one, but the others might not be as good. So, he quickly picked up another small bottle and opened it to check. However, his expression changed again. This was a small qi-gathering pill. Its quality was basically the same as the previous one. They were both supreme grade. Right Pan Gao took a deep breath. He put down the small bottle in his hand and opened another bottle further away. This time, it was a small Huan pill, but it was still supreme grade. Impossible, definitely impossible. Right Pan Gao's movements became faster and faster. He basically opened half of the small bottles in front of him, but all of them were supreme grade. Right Pan Gao panted heavily, unwilling to give up. His eyes were wide open, filled with shock and disbelief. How is it, Mr. Gao on the right? Can you announce the results of your appraisal? Lu Xianxing smiled. This, Right Pan Gao hesitated. However, he didn't dare to speak carelessly in this situation. He could only bite the bullet and say, yes, they are all supreme grade pills. In fact, everyone had already guessed this result from Right Pan Gao's expression. However, when Right Pan Gao said it, everyone believed it. These cultivators didn't care about the Hidden Yu family's reputation. They only wanted to buy better things that were more useful to them. Hence, they were all eager to participate in the auction. Hee, Mr. Gao on the right, thank you for your appraisal. You can go back now. Lu Xianxing gestured for everyone to leave. Then, he said to everyone, all right, let's start the auction. Yu Pangao walked back to his seat gloomily, and the auction had officially begun. As expected, the elixirs that Linny sent were auctioned at an average price of 15 million, while the Hidden House Yu's elixirs remained at the previous price of 10 million, no more, no less. However, although the price did not decrease, Right Pan Gao's expression was ugly with jealousy. Someone had stolen the Hidden Yu family's business. In previous auctions, the Hidden Yu family's pills were very popular. The supply could not meet the demand. However, this time, at the end of the auction, no one bid. Obviously, those who wanted to buy the pills had already bought them. Seeing that the situation was not right, Lu Xianxing had no choice but to let the remaining pills go unsold. Lin Yi's goal here was to get the pure topaz. The other items didn't have much use to him, so he closed his eyes and rested while the others were auctioning off their items. He'd only be able to focus when the pure topaz was auctioned off. Chapter 2505, School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading, Chapter 2505 I Don't Believe It. Update complete. Chapter 2499. The next item to be auctioned is pure topaz. Lu Xianxing took a small box from the hands of a disciple and opened it in front of everyone, revealing the contents inside. He then said, I don't need to introduce the uses of pure topaz. Everyone should know that pure jade is something that must be used to modify heaven-ranked divine weapons. This piece of pure topaz is not small. The starting price is 10 million, and each bid must not be less than 1 million. All right, let the auction begin. Lin Yi's eyes immediately lit up. Although Lu Xianxing described the size of the pure topaz, in reality, the pure topaz was really not big. It was only the size of a fist. However, the market price of this kind of pure topaz was already high. 10 million was really not a lot. Of course, the auction could not be completed with the starting price, especially in this kind of place. Before Lin Yi could even bid, someone had already bid. 15 million. A cultivator raised the number plate in his hand and said directly. Lin Yi looked towards the direction of the voice. He did not expect it to be the heaven-rank cultivator who exchanged for the turtle spit ice crystal. After he went back, it was obvious that he wanted to modify weapons. At this time, it was reasonable to bid for pure topaz. It was not a rare thing. However, Lin Yi secretly regretted it. If he knew that this guy would interfere, it would be better to wait for the auction to end before exchanging with him. Before he obtained the turtle spit ice crystal, he might not be enthusiastic enough to bid for a piece of pure topaz. 20 million. Another voice sounded. It was actually Right Pan Gao. Lin Yi did not expect this pure topaz to be so popular. Even Right Pan Gao wanted it? 21 million. Another thin and tall cultivator bid, but the increment was not as fierce as the previous two. 25 million. The heaven-rank cultivator bid again. 30 million. Right Pan Gao also raised his hand and bid. 31 million. The thin and tall cultivator hesitated for a moment and also bid. This pure topaz appreciated very quickly. It appreciated faster than the previous auction items. In the blink of an eye, it had already exceeded 30 million. From the looks of it, the price was still rising. Lu Xianxing's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. This situation was what he was most happy to see. The auction was not afraid of people bidding. What they were afraid of was no one bidding for the item. It was the same pure-colored jade. It had appeared in previous auctions, but sometimes it was sold at a low price of more than 10 million, which made Lu Xianxing's heart bleed. After all, a piece of pure-colored jade could be sold for a similar price in the jewelry market, let alone a cultivator's auction. But this thing was just a coincidence. Lu Xianxing also understood that when there was no one to buy it, no matter how good it wasn't money. When there was someone to buy it, even if it wasn't worth much, it was still money. 35 million. The heaven-rank cultivator raised the price once again. 50 million. Yu Pangao looked impatiently at the heaven-ranked cultivator. Although he knew that this person was a heaven-ranked cultivator, in his opinion, how could an itinerant cultivator be a match for the Hidden Yu family? Therefore, Right Pan Gao directly threw out a high price of 50 million. When the Heaven Realm cultivator heard Pan Gao's bid, he seemed very angry. But he was a heaven-rank rogue cultivator. Although he didn't rely on any family or sect, he made a lot of money as a bodyguard for a wealthy merchant. Occasionally, he would also secretly accept some international bounty hunter missions, accumulating a considerable amount of wealth. 60 million. The heaven-ranked cultivator called out his bid again. If it wasn't for the fact that he urgently needed jade to refine weapons, he wouldn't spend 60 million on these things. Wouldn't that be like having nowhere to spend his money? The tall and skinny man was stunned. He never thought that a pure yellow jade could be raised to a high price of 60 million. This was already beyond the limit of what he could bear. Therefore, he shook his head and put down the sign in his hand. He gave up the bid. But Pan Gao was unwilling to give up. He didn't know what other people would use this pure yellow jade for, but he was determined to get it, because this was a mission given by Old Master Yu, and he heard that it seemed to be related to the Heavenly Elixir sect. 80 million. Pan Gao was furious. Why was this person fighting with him? Why couldn't he buy anything? Why did he have to fight with me for this thing? 100 million. The heaven-rank cultivator was also anxious. It wasn't that he had to buy it, but the opportunity was here. If he gave up and went back to look for pure jade, it wouldn't be worth it. Therefore, he also called out a sky-high price. If he couldn't, he could only give up. After all, his strength wasn't as strong as the Hidden Yu family. 110 million. Pan Gao continued to raise the price. No matter what, he was determined to get this pure yellow jade. The heaven-ranked cultivator gave up unwillingly. He put the sign in his hand on the table and didn't continue to raise the price. Although Lu Xianxing felt that it was a pity that no one continued to raise the price, it was rare for a pure yellow jade to be sold for more than 100 million. In the last auction, a pure purple jade was only sold for 32 million. It wasn't even a third of this time's price. 110 million going once. Lu Xianxing began to call out the price. 120 million. Lin Yi raised the sign in his hand. This price had already exceeded Lin Yi's expectations. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's previous elixirs that were sold for nearly 300 million, he would still be left with more than 200 million after deducting the commission. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have the money to buy it. Jie. Pan Gao didn't expect that the heaven-ranked cultivator wouldn't come to compete with him. Instead, someone came out of nowhere and started to compete with him again. His face turned extremely ugly. He turned to look at Lin Yi, wanting to see if Lin Yi was hired by the auction. Lin Yi didn't bother with the Pan Gao on the right. He just sat there calmly after saying his price. 130 million. Pan Gao tried to test the waters, unwilling to give up. 131 million. Although Lin Yi had money, he couldn't spend it recklessly. Wouldn't it be better to give the extra money to Yu Xiaoke to develop the orphanage? F***CK. Pan Gao heard Lin Yi's bidding method and was instantly enraged. Who would increase the price like this? Was it fun? Although the minimum price increase could be 1 million, in reality, once the price of an item reached a certain level, no one would do that. It was equivalent to purposely making things difficult for others. 150 million. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. 151 million. Lin Yi said faintly, but he was a little anxious in his heart. Although he made a lot of money from elixirs, money shouldn't be squandered like this. In the blink of an eye, it was already 150 million. Although the materials of this elixir belonged to House Yu, and it was self-produced and sold, there wasn't much cost, but it was basically a one-off business. It was impossible to expect to get more materials from House Yu. Chapter 2500. He was speechless. 180 million. This pure topaz belongs to the hidden Yu family. Yu Pan raised his sign and looked at Lu Xianxing. Yu Pan Gao's intention was clear. He wanted Lu Xianxing to make the final decision as soon as possible. He called out 180 million. This was already giving the Cultivator Trading Association enough face. It suddenly increased from 150 million to nearly 30 million. Lu Xianxing smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect to face these two people in the end. One was from the hidden Yu family, and the other was the person who consigned the elixirs. He really didn't know how to choose. If it was any other time, he would give Yu Pan Gao face and make the final decision. But now, doing so was equivalent to offending a potential big supplier of the Cultivator Trading Association. Look, 181 million. Lin Yi frowned secretly. If this continued, he definitely wouldn't be Yu Pan Gao's opponent. The hidden Yu family was rich. Kid, it seems that you are deliberately going against the hidden Yu family? Yu Pan Gao was furious. He stood up and stared at Lin Yi fiercely. I have already said that this pure topaz belongs to the hidden Yu family. What a joke. Lin Yi said coldly, the rule of the auction is that the highest bidder wins. I have never heard of anyone saying that this thing belongs to me, and no one will compete. However, if you insist that I am going against the hidden Yu family, then so be it. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. His chest heaved up and down. After a while, he said to Lu Xianxing, 200 million. Kid, if you know what's good for you, give this thing to me. 201 million. Lin Yi raised the sign with his right hand, but his left hand didn't stop. He directly flicked a small stone that he picked up from the ground and shot it at Yu Pan Gao, who was not far away. This guy had raised the price to 200 million, and Lin Yi couldn't let him continue. If he did, he wouldn't have the money to pay. Therefore, after much consideration, Lin Yi could only think of such a method, which was to seal the acupoint of the right Pan Gao. Lu Xianxing wanted to make him temporarily speechless so that Lu Xianxing could make the final decision. 2. Right Pan Gao wanted to continue bidding, but he suddenly realized that he couldn't speak. Although he was a cultivator, what he cultivated was the mental cultivation method of an alchemist. His vigilance was relatively poor. He did not expect that Lin Yi would use a small stone to attack him, so he did not use his true qi to protect his body and was directly hit on his acupoint. He was speechless. Yu Pengyao's mouth gaped open in shock, but he could not utter a single word. Mr. Lu, since Pan Gao has stopped bidding, can we drop the hammer now? Lin Yi looked at Lu Xianxing and asked. Although Lu Xianxing found it strange that Pan Gao had stopped bidding with his mouth wide open, he still followed the rules of the auction and asked, 201 million going once. 201 million going twice. Ha? Ha. Pan Gao wanted to speak, but he couldn't. It was very difficult. The vice president of Heaven Division looked at Pan Gao and frowned. However, Lin Yi did it secretly, throwing the small stone at the same time he bid. At that time, everyone's attention was on him, so naturally, no one looked at Pan Gao, not even the vice president of Heaven Division. They didn't notice this detail. It wasn't that he didn't notice it, but that he didn't pay attention at all. He was only here to hold the fort. In his opinion, no one would cause trouble at the auction, so it was even more impossible for him to pay attention to everyone in the auction. Moreover, the acupoint was a legendary martial art technique. Most cultivators had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. They didn't know how to use it, so no one thought in this direction. 201 million going thrice, sold. Lu Xianxing raised the small hammer and knocked it down, finalizing the deal. Congratulations to the winner. After the auction ends, come to me to complete the procedures. Wait, I bid. Not long after Lu Xianxing finished speaking, Pan Gao spoke again. I bid 210 million. You can't sell it to him. I'm sorry, I've already bid for it. Lin Yi looked at Pan Gao mockingly and said, What were you doing earlier? I suddenly couldn't speak. Pan Gao also felt that this matter was a bit strange. Why did he suddenly lose his ability to speak? In fact, Lin Yi's timing was impeccable, controlling the strength of the pressure point so that the right Pan Gao would be rendered speechless for a short period of time. When the time was over, the right Pan Gao would return to normal, and it wouldn't draw too much suspicion. A gentleman can't blame himself. If you can't speak, who are you blaming? Lin Yi glanced at Pan Gao, then turned his head and ignored him. Although the matter was a bit strange, Lu Xianxing wanted the auction to proceed normally. He didn't have time to study Pan Gao's matter, so he directly moved on to the next treasure. Pan Gao, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi hatefully. It didn't matter what the reason was. It didn't matter if it was Lin Yi's doing or not. This pure topaz was mine. I'll let you have it for a while, but it'll still end up in my hands in the end. I'll save a lot of money too. Pan Gao had already made up his mind to snatch it. He was prepared to wait for the auction to end, then let his grandfather do it. He wasn't very clear about what this pure topaz was used for. He only knew that this pure topaz was hidden, and the Pan Gao family was determined to get it. If anything went wrong, it would be hard for him and his grandfather to explain to the family. Chapter 2501. Yang Qiqi's disappointment came from Lin Yi walked up to Lu Xianxing, according to his number. You have an auction item and an auction item. Should we settle it together? Lu Xianxing looked at Lin Yi's number and asked. Let's settle it together, Lin Yi said. Okay. Lu Xianxing nodded and started calculating. He was vague about the auction item, but he didn't say what Lin Yi was auctioning. No one would suspect anything. After all, there were so many things in this auction. Who knew what Lin Yi was auctioning? Lu Xianxing calculated Lin Yi's bill and realized that he still owed Lin Yi 40 million. It was equivalent to 6 million Swiss francs. So he asked directly, do you want to transfer or cash? Cash, Lin Yi said. He didn't want to expose his real identity yet. The longer people found out about his elixir refining, the better. With the relationship between House Yu and the Cultivator Trade Association, it wouldn't be hard to get information about Lin Yi. So, Lin Yi tried not to leave any information related to himself, such as his bank account number. Although Lin Yi had an anonymous account abroad, Lin Yi had used it many times. If someone wanted to contact him, it wouldn't be hard to contact Lin Yi. Okay. Lu Xianxing gave Lin Yi a piece of paper and the pure yellow jade that Lin Yi got from the auction. He said to Lin Yi, "Go to the window over there and get the cash." "Thank you." Lin Yi took the paper and put the pure yellow jade away carefully. He went to another window and passed the paper over. The disciple glanced at it and went to the inner room to prepare. After a while, he came back with a suitcase and gave it to Lin Yi. "Sir, your money is here. You can count it." "No need." After Lin Yi took the suitcase, he went straight to the door. The size of the suitcase was fixed. Even if it was only 10,000 Swiss francs, the Cultivator Trade Association would still use a large suitcase. This was also for the sake of secrecy. No one would be able to judge the amount of money inside from the size of the suitcase, and no one would be able to guess what the item was being auctioned. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to count the number on the spot. That would be tantamount to confessing. If someone added the price of the pure topaz from before, it wouldn't be difficult to imagine the total value of those pills. Moreover, Lin Yi did not believe that the Cultivator Trade Association would cheat in this aspect. Lu Xianxing didn't say anything, but after the vice president of Heaven Division saw Lin Yi leave, his eyes flashed. He didn't tell Lu Xianxing his plan. After all, although the Cultivator Trade Association was strong, it was an organization that emphasized fairness and justice. Lu Xianxing was also a relatively decent person. Although his position wasn't as high as the vice president, he was the chief auctioneer and appraiser of the market square. His status in the Cultivator Trade Association was also aloof. Even if the vice president of Heaven Division didn't give him face, he couldn't do anything to him. He was a special talent of the Cultivator Trade Association. Even the president would be polite to him. What the vice president of Heaven Division wanted to do was against the morality of the Cultivator Trade Association. His disciple was killed after failing to ask for a bribe. It didn't make sense for him to take revenge. If this was known by the president, he would definitely not let it go easily. Especially if the other hostile vice president knew about it, he would lose a layer of skin. So the vice president didn't plan on telling Lu Xianxing at all. After Lin Yi left, the vice president found an excuse and left the office. He had to plan to surround Lin Yi at the foot of the mountain. After Lin Yi left his seat, a lot of people prepared their positions. Yang Qiqi saw that the Heaven Division was about to leave. After hesitating for a moment, he quickly caught up and called out, "Senior, please wait." "Oh, it's you." The Heaven Division turned around and saw Yang Qiqi. He still had an impression of Yang Qiqi. She was the girl who wanted to trade the blue crystal for the blood of an Earth Element Sky-class spirit beast. "Senior, my blue crystal. I don't have it on me right now, but don't worry, I'll get it as soon as I get home and trade it with you. Please don't give it to anyone else, I beg you," Yang Qiqi said sincerely. Lin Yi had taken the blue crystal, but Qiqi knew that there would be another blue crystal up for sale in the upcoming auction abroad. She'd go all out to get another blue crystal and bring it back to trade with the Sky class. "Haha, I'm sorry, little girl, but I've already traded the blood away," the Sky class practitioner said to Qiqi. "So, I can't trade with you anymore." What?" Qiqi paled upon hearing the Sky class practitioner's words. "It's already been traded? How is that possible? How could this be? Last night, someone brought something I needed and traded it with me. I couldn't refuse." The Heaven Division said, "So, little girl, there's nothing I can do?" What did he trade with you?" Yang Qiqi asked. "It's what I need, something from a water element heaven class." The Heaven Division said, "Then, can you tell me who it was that traded the blood away?" Qiqi had no choice but to ask for the next best thing. "I can't tell you that. It's a personal secret. I can't reveal his identity without the person's permission." The Heaven Division shook his head. "Wasn't it the person sitting beside you, fighting with Right Pangao for the yellow jade?" But he couldn't say that already. Lin Yi and Yang Qiqi looked like they knew each other, and they were even sitting together. But the more it was like that, the weirder the Heaven Division felt. The two were sitting together, and Lin Yi hadn't told Yang Qiqi the truth. Wasn't that hiding something? And so, the Heaven Division wouldn't be the bad guy and reveal things like that. On the contrary, he was very grateful to Linny for giving him what he needed, and even beating Pangao in the competition for the pure topaz, allowing him to vent some of his frustrations. Because Linny had entered the competition later, the Heaven Division had already given up. He didn't hate Linny at all. I see. Young Chi-Chi knew that she was forcing the Heaven Division. All right, little girl, I'll be leaving now. The Heaven Division turned around and left the auction house. Chapter 2508 The Campus Belle's Bodyguard is Free. Young Chi-Chi's disappointment update was complete. Chapter 2502 Your Lin-E? From Chi-Chi looked at the back view of the man leaving, filled with sadness and regret. She couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. She'd failed. She'd failed in the end. She couldn't get the blood. So what would happen to Lil Nine? Linny walked out from the back of the auction house and saw Chi-Chi talking to the Sky Class from afar. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Chi-Chi crying on the ground. This girl was an assassin. How could she be so weak? Coming out to do a mission like that? Shaking his head, Lin-E walked over to Chi-Chi quickly. Chi-Chi heard footsteps beside her and raised her head. It was Lin-E, and she pouted before lowering her head again, crying even harder. This guy was so evil. He was here to watch the show, wasn't he? You still have the blue crystal? Linny asked. Linny had heard the conversation between Chi-Chi and the Sky Class, and he was very interested in the fact that Chi-Chi still had the blue crystal. What does that have to do with you? You're not going to steal my blue crystal, are you? Chi-Chi thought that Linny was going to steal her stuff again. She raised her head and glared at Linny. Don't think that you can bully me just because you're strong. Wait until my dad comes back. He won't let you get away with this. Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Chi-Chi's words. Was this a competition of fathers? What are you laughing at? I'm telling you, my dad's really strong. Even his disciple can beat you up half to death. Chi-Chi got even angrier at the sight of Lin-E laughing. She warned Lin-E fiercely. It's nothing. Lin-E shook his head helplessly as he took out the blood from his pocket and put it in Chi-Chi's hand. This is... Chi-Chi stared at the bottle Lin-E had given her in disbelief, her eyes wide as she raised her head. You don't always bite the hand that feeds you in the future. Lin-E patted Chi-Chi's head. Looks like Mr. Dongwa's story was for nothing. You really have a bad memory. Not everyone is as kind as me. Chi-Chi paused and raised her head, a strange look on her face. What do you mean? There was an idiot who saved an injured girl on the road. The girl lost too much blood and almost died. Then the idiot saved the girl. That girl wanted to kill that idiot for looking at her body. There was also an idiot who saw a young girl fail a mission in Blue Town. He helped the young girl, but the young girl still seemed to hold a grudge against him. After a while, the idiot went to participate in the Ice Palace's trial and encountered that young girl again. That young girl had been robbed of her treasures. Thus, the idiot helped the girl find many treasures of heaven and earth, helping her complete the task. But after a certain period of time, after a while, the girl tried to steal his blue crystal again. Linny told her about his encounters with Chi-Chi. Why you? You're that Linny? Chi-Chi's shocked face got even more colorful after hearing Lin Yi's words. She stared at Lin Yi, speechless. She didn't understand what was going on. She never would have thought that this person would be her savior. All right, go back early. This is my phone number. Call me if there's any news about the blue crystal. Lin Yi gave Chi-Chi a piece of paper. Of course, you can come to me for revenge, but not today. Leave as soon as possible. Someone's looking for trouble. Someone's looking for trouble? Are you okay? Do you need my help? Chi-Chi asked subconsciously. The person in front of her was Lin Yi, and this kind of change changed Chi-Chi's heart as well. Chi-Chi's sudden change made Lin Yi speechless. Was this girl suddenly caring about him? Lin Yi shook his head with a smile. It's nothing. Just take care of yourself. Oh. Chi-Chi felt a little worried all of a sudden. She didn't know why, but the hatred she had for Lin Yi was gone all of a sudden. Could it be that she was starting to like him? That couldn't be, right? She loved Brother Xiaoyi unwaveringly. How could she fall in love with someone else? That was impossible. Absolutely impossible. Yes, he must have given her the blood of an Earth Element Sky-class spirit beast, and she let him go because he could save Lil 9. That had to be it. I'm leaving. Linny didn't linger. He realized that Han Xiaopa seemed to be in trouble as well. This trouble came from the hidden house Yu, Pan Gao. He was pointing at Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka with an arrogant face. Who was that person sitting with you? Don't tell me you don't know him. Tell me, and I'll only look for trouble with him. I won't do anything to you. You guessed right, we really don't know him. Han Xiaopa had been with Linny for a while now, and his temperament had changed. He was no longer the weak and cautious Han Xiaopa of the hidden house Yu. Although the hidden house Yu couldn't be compared to the hidden house Yu, as long as Linny was on their side, the hidden house Yu wouldn't dare do anything to them. Pan Gao raged. He didn't think that this person would be this ignorant, rebutting him. Do you know who I am? I do. Aren't you called Pan Gao? Mr. Liu has said it many times. You're from the hidden house Yu. Han Xiaopa said faintly. Since you know I'm from the hidden house Yu, why are you going against me? Pan Gao raged. So what if I'm right? I'm not afraid to tell you that you're no match for me. Han Xiaopa was someone who only knew how to make pills. It was a piece of cake for him to beat Pan Gao. Who are you? Pan Gao was both shocked and angry. All right, aren't you looking for me? What are you yelling for? I didn't run away. I just want to get the pure topaz. Lin Yi patted Pan Gao's shoulder and said faintly. Pan Gao was still angry, but he jumped when Lin Yi suddenly patted him from behind. He went to find Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka because he was afraid that Lin Yi would run away. But now that Lin Yi was back, he didn't need to find anyone else. He turned to face Lin Yi. Why did you pat me? Do you know who I am? Chapter 2509 The Campus Belle's Bodyguard is Free. You're Lin Yi? Update complete. Chapter 2503 Do you have amnesia? He just told you that you are the hidden house Yu's right Pan Gao, and you turned around and forgot? With your IQ, don't run around on the streets. You'll get lost again. Linny looked at right Pan Gao mockingly. Kid, who doesn't know how to talk fast? I just want to ask you one question. The hidden house Yu is determined to get the pure topaz. Are you going to let it go or not? Right Pan Gao asked. If you wanted to let it go, I would have let you have it just now. Linny said. All right, if this is what you want, you can leave. Good, very good. I'll remember you. Right Pan Gao nodded and smiled instead of being angry. I want to see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. With that, Right Pan Gao didn't wait for Lin Yi's reply. He turned around and left, quickly disappearing from Lin Yi's sight. However, Lin Yi knew that Right Pan Gao didn't really leave just like that. He probably asked his grandfather to think of a way to deal with him secretly. Lin Yi passed the box to Yu Xiaoka and said, This is for you. Ah, for me? Yu Xiaoka was stunned. You and Han Xiaopa go down the mountain first. Wait for me at the parking lot. Lin Yi told Yu Xiaoka and Han Xiaopa. There were many people at the parking lot at the bottom of the mountain. It was relatively safer there. As long as they didn't initiate a conversation with strangers, there wouldn't be any problems. Han Xiaopa's expression changed slightly. He thought of something and said, Boss, that right Pan Gao, and don't worry. Lin Yi waved his hand. He didn't want Han Xiaopa and Yu Xiaoka to worry. Even if he told them the truth, they wouldn't be able to help much with their strength. So, Lin Yi decided to take it on himself. To be honest, Lin Yi was not afraid of the enemies from the Hidden Yu family. Lin Yi was afraid of the vice president of Heaven Stage. He was an expert at the peak of the early phase of the Heaven rank, and it seemed that he was slightly stronger than the average Heaven rank expert. Lin Yi wasn't sure if he could deal with him. After all, Lin Yi's current martial skills could be used for sneak attacks, but it was a head-on confrontation. Lin Yi did not have any advantage. All right, we'll be leaving first. Han Xiaopa nodded. Then, be careful. Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi worriedly and suddenly leaned forward bravely, kissing Lin Yi's lips. Lin Yi was startled. Yu Xiaoka's sudden action made his heart skip a beat. Although both of them were masked, there was no skin contact. However, Lin had never experienced his heart beating like an electric current before. At this moment, Lin realized that Xiaoka had occupied a large place in his heart without him realizing it. "I'll wait for you." Xiaoka was brave, but she couldn't let go in front of Han Xiaopa. It was already amazing that she could do this, and it showed how much she liked the male thief. She quickly separated after kissing Lin. Her eyes were filled with shyness as she said to Lin. "Okay, I will," Lin said solemnly. Not far away, Yang Chi-Chi was still paying attention to Lin Yi's movements. She didn't know why, but for some reason, she felt a wave of discomfort when she saw Xiaoka taking the initiative to kiss her. How shameless, taking the initiative to kiss a man. It was too embarrassing. Yang Chi-Chi only cared about cursing Xiaoka. She didn't notice the road under her feet and stepped on a stone. She staggered and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that everyone was looking at her strangely, Yang Chi-Chi snorted and left quickly. Practitioners could stagger when they fell. How stupid would a cultivator be? Lin Yi watched as Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka left the market and went to the parking lot not far away. A cold smile appeared on his face as he turned and walked in another direction. This direction wasn't the market, and it wasn't the way to leave either. It was another path up the mountain. This road was obviously not a regular road, but a rugged natural path that was very difficult to walk. It was in the opposite direction of the cultivator's market. In the cultivator's market, the vice president of heaven rank was sitting in a courtyard, and the other person was his disappointing disciple, Skinny Stick. "Master, are we just going to let that kid leave like this? He doesn't just have blue crystals, he also has yellow jade," Skinny said anxiously. "Don't worry." The vice president smiled faintly and waved his hand at the skinny man. "It's impossible for him to leave. Where can he go? Don't worry, my eyes have been watching him. Not only did he not leave, but he went to another mountain path. I don't know if he knows something or is doing it on purpose." "Mountain path? Isn't that the herb plantation of our cultivator trade association?" He went up. Skinny's face changed. "So I don't know what he's doing up there," the vice chairman said. "But don't worry, if we don't do it, someone will do it for us." "Master, you mean?" Skinny asked carefully. "Can he go back safely after offending the hidden house Yu? You don't have to think about the yellow jade. The hidden house Yu is determined to get it. There's no point in us snatching it back. Although it was auctioned for more than 200 million this time, it might not be the same price the next time. Tens of millions at most. We don't need to offend the hidden house Yu for such a thing." The vice chairman said, "Our goal this time is the blue crystal." "Oh, master. You mean to let the hidden house Yu make the first move?" The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. "We'll wait until they're almost done before we make our move?" Skinny understood what his master meant. "Yes, that's it." The vice chairman nodded. "But that kid is just a peak Earth class mid-stage master. Is there a need to do this? If we work together with the hidden house Yu, maybe we can get more benefits?" Skinny asked in confusion. "Just peak Earth class mid-stage? If it's just that, how did he cripple your brothers and almost kill them?" The vice chairman sneered and said, "Don't you need to use your brain to think about it?" Skinny finally remembered why they were looking for Lin Yi. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Yes, how could a peak Earth class mid-stage master so easily kill a peak Earth class late-stage master? Either Lin Yi was able to fight someone stronger than him, or he was hiding his true strength. One had to know that even a Sky class early phase couldn't kill an Earth class late phase peak with just one move. It was simply unbelievable. To be continued. Chapter 2504. As a bodyguard. Let's go. It's about time. The hidden house of you should be on the move. We should get ready to go. The vice leader stood up. The vice leader was right. When Yu Pangao returned to the hotel room and told the short man everything that had happened, the short man was furious. The pure topaz was something that old man Yu had personally ordered him to get. Now that it was stolen, he wouldn't let it go. Especially when Yu Pangao exaggerated about how arrogant Lin Yi was, and how he didn't care about the hidden house of Yu. This made the short man even angrier, and he brought Yu Pangao out. Kid, you're quite good at choosing your route. Yu Pangao caught up to Lin Yi and looked at Lin Yi's back from afar. He laughed coldly. Don't think that we won't be able to find you just because you went up the mountain. I've said it before, let's see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. Lin Yi's path was indeed out of Yu Pangao's and the short man's expectations, but with the help of some people in the Cultivator Trade Association, they were able to find him without a hitch. In fact, the vice leader was using them as pawns to test the waters. Lin Yi could easily kill an Earth-class late-phase peak master, so his true strength was at least at the early phase of Sky class. If that was the case, then they would let an early-phase Sky class master test it out and see how deep Lin Yi's strength was. Lin Yi laughed coldly and turned his head. He looked at Yu Pangao and the short man with a mocking smile and said calmly, "Do you know why I chose this path? Isn't it simple? Because you were afraid that we would come to steal the pure topaz and wanted to escape, so you purposely chose this remote place. But you won't be able to hide." Yu Pangao said proudly, "Wrong." Lin Yi said calmly, "Wrong? Don't quibble, there's no one here. You don't need to keep your pitiful pride. Your companion already ran for her life." "Haha, stop pretending." Yu Pangao said mockingly, "I chose this place because there aren't many people here. It doesn't matter if my identity is exposed." Lin Yi waved his hand and said to Yu Pangao, "The hidden house of you is really an idiot. You are the same. Yu Pangao is the same. You, you have a sharp tongue, and you're still so stubborn even at death." Pangao snorted. "Exposed? What identity do you have to be exposed?" "I say, short robber, your injuries healed quite quickly, didn't they? Looks like I didn't put too much force into that slap back then. You're still alive and kicking, looking for trouble." Lin Yi ignored Pangao. Instead, he looked at the short expert not far away and said coldly, "Ah." The short expert was taken aback, and a look of horror flashed in his eyes. You are, so, the people from the Hidden Right family are all idiots. You brought your grandson to chase after me to your death?" Lin Yi said as he looked at the short expert playfully. "Brat, who are you calling courting death?" Right Pangao didn't recognize Lin Yi, so he didn't understand the situation. When he heard Lin Yi say that he was courting death, he instantly exploded. Pa. However, Yu Pangao had not finished speaking. The short expert ruthlessly slapped him across the face. "Little bastard, shut up." "Ah, grandfather." Right Pangao didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why his grandfather suddenly gave him a slap. Feeling wronged, he asked, "What's wrong with me?" "Hee, Mr. Lin, I was just joking." The short expert was sweating profusely. He was a heaven rank expert, so he was very domineering. However, he could also distinguish between the strong and the weak. The combination of him and Right Pangao was far worse than the combination of him and the tall robber. Lin Yi could easily kill the previous combination. Wouldn't it be as easy as flipping his hand to kill him and his grandson? So, after understanding the situation, the short expert decisively gave in. "Joke? You brought your grandson all the way here just to joke?" Lin Yi stared at the short expert angrily. "Are you crazy?" I'm not crazy. Actually, my real purpose was to prevent Mr. Lin from carrying such a precious thing like the pure topaz. What if you meet a robber on the way? So, my grandson and I volunteered to be his bodyguards." The short expert said, "That's right." The short expert said, "Oh, that's it? Oh, you came to be a bodyguard. All right, you guys hide first. Someone's coming." Lin Yi waved his hand. "Someone's coming? Then we'll leave first." The short expert hurriedly said, "Aren't you guys going to be my bodyguards? Why are you leaving? Could it be that you're not here to be bodyguards?" Lin Yi looked at the short expert and said coldly, "This, of course, we're here to be bodyguards." The short expert was shocked and quickly said, he was afraid that Lin Yi would kill him. He quickly bit on the point of being a bodyguard. "Since you're here to be bodyguards, then that's good. You guys hide first. Wait for my summons to protect me." Lin Yi instructed them. Yes. The short expert nodded helplessly. He pulled right Pan Gao and hid behind a huge rock not far away. However, he didn't dare to run away. He was afraid that this was a trap set by Lin Yi. If they ran away, Lin Yi would quickly kill them. Grandfather, why did you call him Mr. Lin? Who is he? After hiding behind the huge rock, right Pan Gao asked suspiciously. Who is he? How did your grandfather get injured? How did your grandfather Gao die? That's who he is. The short expert glared at his grandson and said fiercely, Today, I almost died because of you. This brat is very cruel and ruthless. He's simply a violent maniac. Last time when your grandfather Gao and I were robbers, he didn't say a word and injured us. Today, he might have been in a good mood after taking a picture of pure topaz. That's why he let us go. Ah, it's him. Right Pan Gao's face turned ashen. He broke out in a cold sweat. So it was this evil star. He was fearlessly acting tough in front of him and courting death. His life was really hanging by a thread. All right, don't talk anymore. It seems like someone is really coming. The short expert was slightly surprised. He was a heaven stage expert, but Lin Yi was one step ahead of him. What kind of expert was Lin Yi? In fact, he was thinking too much. Previously, he was frightened by Lin Yi and didn't carefully investigate the surrounding situation. Lin Yi had already expected that other than the hidden Yu family members, the Heaven Stage Vice President would also come. Naturally, he was more careful than the short expert. The Heaven Stage Vice President brought the skinny stick to Lin Yi's side. Only then did he realize that Lin Yi was just standing there, calm and unruffled in the midst of the chaos. Chapter 2511. The School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading Chapter 2511. Come and be a bodyguard update complete. Chapter 2505. This situation made him slightly startled. What was Lin Yi doing? Why didn't the hidden house of Yu come looking for him? That's not right. I specifically ordered the disciples of the Law Enforcement Hall to inadvertently give them a hint when they were looking for Lin Yi. That way, they would be able to find Lin Yi smoothly. But where was this person? Hello, Vice President. Is this skinny man your subordinate? Lin Yi was a little surprised after seeing the skinny man. He did expect the Vice President to come back to avenge the two gatekeepers, but he didn't expect it to be because of this skinny man. No wonder. Lin Yi finally understood after seeing the skinny man. So the two gatekeepers were actually standing up for this skinny man. It was just that they weren't strong enough. Lin Yi found it strange at first. The two gatekeepers must have taken the wrong medicine. He was an Earth-class peak mid-stage master. Of all people, the gatekeepers could have looked for trouble, but they just had to look for him. They must have eaten their fill. Since you've seen me here, there's no need for me to hide anymore. That's right. He's my disciple. You stole his blue crystal and crippled two of my disciples. How are you going to settle this debt? The vice leader looked at Lin Yi coldly as if he was looking at a dead man. How? Do I still need to settle this? Lin Yi smiled faintly. You, scrawny disciple, bullied people first, and I was just helping them out. The two disciples after you, on the other hand, were crippled because they weren't strong enough. Who can you blame? Oh, what you said is correct. Then can I interpret it as saying that if I kill you now, who can you blame for your lack of strength? The vice leader was clearly twisting words and forcing logic, but his words sounded extremely natural. Of course, you can understand it that way, Lin Yi said lightly, but do you think I'm waiting here to die? Then you. The vice president was slightly shocked. To be honest, he was also quite surprised. Lin Yi was inexplicably standing here without hiding. What was the reason? Moreover, where were the people of the Hidden Right family? Bodyguards, come out and work. Someone's bullying the person you're protecting. Lin Yi turned his head to look at the short expert and the boulder to his right. Cough cough. The short expert had no choice but to bring his right arm out. His expression was extremely ugly, but there was nothing he could do. He was in a dilemma. He had no choice but to come out, but he didn't want to face the vice leader of the heaven rank after coming out. Third brother of the right, why are you here? The vice president of Heaven Stage looked at the two hidden Yu family members who came out from behind the boulder in shock. He was very surprised. How did these two people become Lin Yi's bodyguards? That's right. We're this gentleman's bodyguards. The short expert said helplessly. We're here to protect this gentleman's safety, Mr. Vice President. What can I do for you? The short expert's words were very clear. He was currently being forced into a corner. If the short expert wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, then he would have no choice. I'm also in a difficult position here. The Vice President of Heaven Stage frowned. He really couldn't figure out the truth of the matter. He could only say, Third brother of the right, what do you mean? Did you get your pure topaz? Pure topaz? We don't want it. We're here to protect this gentleman's pure topaz from being stolen by others. The short expert said, You. The Vice President of Heaven Stage found that things seemed to be wrong. Although he was an expert at the peak of the early stage of Heaven Stage, and Third Brother of the Right was an expert at the early stage of Heaven Stage, there was only a slight difference in strength between the two. It was unrealistic to say that the Vice President of Heaven Stage could completely suppress Third Brother of the Right. He didn't have that ability, let alone easily kill him. If the two really fought, it would be easy to judge who would win and who would lose. The final winner would definitely be the Vice President of Heaven Stage, but he would also have to put in a lot of effort. He might even get injured, which was not what he wanted to see. I'm sorry, the short expert said helplessly. Grandpa, why don't we join forces with the Vice President? Can't we beat that kid? Third Brother of the Right was somewhat unwilling. He suddenly said, First, he wanted to remind his grandpa that there were two Heaven Stage experts here, so there was no need to be afraid of Lin Yi. Second, he wanted to remind the Vice President of Heaven Stage that he was forced to do this. He also wanted the Vice President of Heaven Stage to persuade his grandpa. Sure enough, the Vice Guild Master's eyes lit up. He finally understood why House Yu changed sides at the last minute. It turned out that they couldn't beat Lin Yi. But a Sky-class early-stage master couldn't even be a match for an Earth-class mid-stage peak master? Was this for real? Wasn't this world too crazy? The short expert's expression was slightly sluggish. It wasn't that he didn't think of joining forces with the Vice President of Heaven Stage, but the risk was too big. What if they still couldn't beat Lin Yi? He wasn't High Tripod Right. No matter what, High Tripod Right had never experienced the events of that day. However, the short expert had truly suffered a palm strike, and he knew very well how powerful that palm strike was. Not to mention much, just 2 strikes from it would have killed him without a doubt. Therefore, if Lin Yi used the same trick again and slapped him and the Vice President of Heaven Stage, then he and the Vice President of Heaven Stage would both be crippled. He didn't think that the Vice President of Heaven Stage, who was just a bit stronger than him, would be able to survive. That wasn't realistic. Even if the Vice President of Heaven Stage wasn't injured as badly as he definitely wouldn't be able to fight. At that time, wouldn't it be as easy for Lin Yi to kill Third Brother of the Right clan and Skinny Stick? After killing these two, he would give them another slap each, and all 4 of them would die here. Thinking of this situation, the short expert couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. He quickly dispelled this idea and suddenly turned around. He swung his arm and slapped Third Brother of the Right clan's face again. You prodigal brat, what nonsense are you talking about? That hero is so powerful. How can we 2 mere Heaven Stage experts work together to defeat him? What do you know, you little bastard? The last time I was with your grandpa Gao, he was an Earth-class late phase peak, and I was an Earth-class early phase. He was killed in 1 slap, and I was crippled. I had to eat so many pills to recover. Have you forgotten? The short expert's words were actually meant for the Vice President of Heaven Stage to hear. That is, I was crippled by Lin Yi in 1 slap, and he only needed 1 slap to kill you. Although I know that I was pushed out by him to start a feud with you, I had no choice but to bite the bullet. So don't blame me, this wasn't my intention. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.